the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text, 877-881-1053. As we will hear from you, we can do a little Cowboys therapy as we rock with you until 6 p.m. tonight. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, the voice of your Cowboys, Brad Sham, our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, and more. But before we dive into all of it, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Tolo, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
44-19, the Saints come into AT&T Stadium, and they ruin the home opener for the Cowboys, who fall to 1-1. Saints improve to 2-0. Post-game show brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching, and it was just an offensive clinic in the first half, Brian, and it continued into the second. Cowboys did not get a defensive stop until the Donovan Wilson interception in the fourth quarter, but you got to give that Saints team a lot of credit. Yeah. They dominated on both sides of the football.
Yeah, coming in, you kind of felt like that maybe that the Cowboys would have an advantage with their front seven against this Saints offensive line. Saints did a great job with their scheme, with the way that the play calling was. They got into some situations where they really didn't respect your edges. We saw some early in the game. Even the first snap, they went toss sweep, didn't get a lot of yards, but then what did they do? They kept staying with it. And then the deep crossing routes, anything to do with making these Cowboys corners have to chase was a problem. They got between the linebackers and the safeties, and then they found that space and were able to take advantage of that. A lack of pressure. We saw a ton of pressure last week. Really no pressure this week. And Derek Carr looked comfortable last week. I think he looked even more comfortable this week throwing the football against the team. The defensively last week, like you said, did a pretty darn good job. But everything seemed to kind of fall apart for him. Didn't rush particularly well. Didn't really set the edge particularly well. Didn't tackle particularly well. And so that's a tough day. I don't think the coordinator had a very good day calling defenses. He didn't have any really answers for the Saints, and here you go. You get kind of run up on like they did today.
No, all the praise that the Cowboys were getting all week in a great defensive performance a week ago against the Browns. Now you're soul searching again. Derek Carr only threw the ball 16 times today, 2 touchdowns, 243 yards. But you're right, and he had a rushing touchdown. He was comfortable back there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really thought the Cowboys would be able to get some sort of pass rush. They were really unable to generate anything. Zim decided to dial up a blitz, a perfect counter from Clint Kubiak. They call the screen to Alvin Kamara. He ends up scoring. Kamara today, 5 total touchdowns? Unbelievable day for him. 3 receiving touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara is. We talked about in the pregame. He looked healthy. He looked ready to go. We were all thinking that maybe this was a truth serum game. Eric Chiafalo in the pregame show said that. Hey, is Dallas's defense this good, or is New Orleans' offense this good? And I think that question was answered today. The Saints' offense was clearly better than what the Cowboys were defensively, and I think that was really the telling thing, that, you think like a home game, that they would be ready, that they would play with some speed, they would play with some, with some downhill ability there. But, man, Saints came off the ball, did a hell of a job getting into your guys. I don't think you're particularly good on the edges. You really weren't good at tackles. Linebackers were, getting cut off. We'll watch this game tomorrow on the tape. I will always say that, but it's a great way to learn. But just from the eye test from the press box, you could tell that there were a lot of those black jerseys on white jerseys, and that just kind of mushed them out of the way a little bit today.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of the last time the Cowboys played a meaningful football game here at AT&T Stadium against Green Bay, and you couldn't stop the run in that one. The Packers moved up and down the field, and the Saints did the same thing today. And now there's a lot of questions heading into a game next week against the Baltimore Ravens, another team that's going to attack you running the football along the perimeter. They've got Lamar Jackson, the best mobile quarterback in the NFL, one of the best, if not the best all time, Derrick Henry. The task is not going to get any easier, and I think a follow-up of something we were critical all last season. When this team gets down, is there a fight? Is there some kind of knockback? And the defense certainly didn't show it today. The offense was able to put up points in their first 5 drives, but then you had the interception right before the half. That was maybe your last big hope. You try and double dip. You go into the half with a score. You come out of the half with a score. Unable to do that. You had the interception. That one I'd probably put on the receiver, Jalen Brooks, not on Dak Prescott.
Yeah, bad day for him as well. Yeah, I mean, Dak's throwing the ball to a spot. Brooks is going through the middle, and you got to keep your feet. You can't lose your balance. You can't. And maybe a little bit about some nerves going into the middle. We're all thinking about you got a guy in the middle of the field like Tyrann Mathieu that is not afraid to hit you and try and separate you from the ball. But Brooks has got to stay on his feet. Dak is throwing the ball to a spot. Now, the interception, the second interception, that was just an awful throw. That was an awful throw by Dak Prescott. He had no business throwing that ball to CeeDee Lamb inside like that with the way the coverage. He forced that ball. It was a poor throw. Did Dak have some good moments there? Yeah, he probably kept you in this game the best he could with some of the plays that he had to make, but that was a really, really poor throw.
Best play on offense was the CeeDee Lamb touchdown. There was no doubt about that. An amazing route and then the throw from Dak, and then CeeDee able to split 2 defenders, go down the sideline for a 65-yard touchdown. But after that, the red zone offense certainly was an issue today.
Awful.
Brandon Aubrey, 4 for 4. You can count on Butter Aubrey, but they got to do a better job cashing in the green area.
Yeah, they do. And, to me, when you start to look at, with Mike McCarthy and the play calling down there, there needs to be a little bit of some rhyme or reason why you're doing things. We saw when we were in Oxnard, they did a better job of getting guys open down in the red zone. This game and the Saints, they really kind of shut you down in that area. There wasn't the space that we've kind of grown accustomed to, but, man, they have got to get better down there in the red zone.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. Again, the rushing attack for New Orleans today, 190 yards as a team. They averaged about 5 yards a carry. The Cowboys running for just 68 yards. Again, the score gets out of hand a little bit.
Way out of hand.
You got to kind of abandon the run. They only ran for 3.2 yards a clip, but now you're looking at it yourselves and thinking, man, you thought maybe with the addition of a Marshawn Nealon, the way Tank played last week, did you improve enough to now, okay, you can set the edge with your defensive line. You added bigger bodies with Linval Joseph and Jordan Phillips. You felt like you got overshown. You got Eric Kendricks, the linebackers being able to flow to the football, use your team speed. Well, it ended up being the same result. You got run right down your throat for 4 quarters, and a new defensive coordinator didn't necessarily save it either in Mike Zimmer.
No, he did not today. Zim wasn't good enough. Last week he was good enough, got a lot of praise, including me. You always like to talk about the way that I think that Mike does things, and, he had his guys ready to play. I think today you probably were ready to play. You weren't ready to play the physical style of game that the Saints were ready to play today. They came out with a purpose, with the 21 personnel. With when you look at the Taysom Hill as a fullback, that's something that they're always going to try and do. I mean, Adam Pernice and stuff, they play with a heavy-looking group. And I tell you what, though, it's impressive the way that they're able to attack you that way.
Yeah, a lot of texts coming in, 877-881-1053. A lot of upset and angry Cowboy fans, and I get it. We'll take your calls in text. The play calling was not very good. That throw to CD was not good by Dak from another texter. Too conservative in the red zone. The second interception was tipped. The 4-6-9, stop saying putting up points. This offense just continues to stall and not score touchdowns. I agree with you there.
Sure.
But field goals are points. But you're right. They can't just kick field. This was not a game. You could feel it pretty early. After the first 2 drives, a great opening drive from New Orleans, and then, boom, one play, Rashid Shaheed for a touchdown. You could kind of tell field goals aren't going to win you this football game. You've got to finish drives, and offensively they weren't able to do so today.
No, not at all, though. And the Saints did that to you. It wasn't anything. You weren't you wasn't like you were gifting them anything. They went out there and they physically took it from you today, and that was the difference in the ball game. And I think just the physicality that they played with was the reason why that they took this game. They were just a more physical team. The execution was really good, but just the physicality they played with was impressive.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is
on both sides of the ball.
No doubt, and I'm with you. And you were hoping that maybe that changed a little bit. You know, you got 2 rookies starting with Guyton and Beebe. You add some new players to the front 7. Again, you know, you're playing against a team and you lose badly, and we're talking about the toughness, the physicality. I mean, it goes back. It's very reminiscent of your big losses last year against a Saints team that seems like a good football team. Yeah. This team seems like they could be a playoff team. Maybe they end up winning the NFC South. But that was our talking point every postgame following a loss last year. When you play against a good team, what are the reasons why you're not winning? One, you're getting outmanned physically, and when this team gets down, it seems like it's just a snowball effect.
Sure.
There's not somebody, especially on the defensive side of the football, that's able to make that big play to maybe bring a spark or kind of knock you out of this and get you back in the football game. You're trying to claw back in it, but nothing seems to be working.
No, and, you know, we'll go back. I'm sure there'll be some situations where Saints, I mean, Dallas finally drew a holding call late in the game. And I'm not saying it's the officials, but, man, when you're running the football as effectively as you're thinking like, A, are we getting knocked off the ball, or B, are they snatching us at the line of scrimmage and kind of, you know, getting the hand placements and stuff like that? And I just think probably the latter. The hand placement was good, and they were just kind of driving you off the football.
Yeah, and, you know, Dak was captain check down. You need to throw the ball down the field. I do think there were some chances when you go back and you'll watch the tape. Yeah. They'll watch the tape. To me, you could see it early on. Tolbert against Paulson Adebo, just one matchup that stood out to me. You know, Adebo's a guy that very technically sound as a corner but doesn't run great. And it did seem like maybe there were opportunities down the field if they wanted to push the ball. But the offensive line wasn't always providing you a ton of time either.
No, they were. It was a battle, and, you know, give Young and Granderson and those guys some credit today. They got after you on the edges, and you know, Dak was having to move around in the pocket and maybe didn't have the opportunity to see down the field like he needed to.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text, 44-19. The Saints beating the Dallas Cowboys today. It was interesting. You know, obviously the rushing game kind of goes out the window midway through the second quarter when all of a sudden this is like a 3-score game. But the way in which they used the running backs today, Rico Dowdle ended up being your starter.
Right.
Got the most carries with 7. Then it was actually Deuce Vaughn who sprinkled in for a series, followed by Ezekiel Elliott. Rico, your leading rusher with 30 yards. Zeke, 6 carries for 16. And then Deuce Vaughn, 4 carries for 11 yards. Moving forward, it definitely seems like this is 100% a running back by committee approach.
Well, they're going to try, and you know, is it going to be good enough going forward? We'll see how that plays out. When you see Dowdle play, you feel like, okay, that's going to give you a little bit of more juice running the ball. But you said it early, the Saints took you out of that running game completely. I mean, Dallas tried to kind of stay in it just to try and be honest. They weren't dropping back and making this, throwing the ball 70 times. But yeah, it was very, very clear that the Cowboys are searching for somebody to be that guy, and I don't think they've necessarily are any closer to finding that.
Jerry Jones talking post-game, saying, quote, extraordinary disappointment. We will correct this. We will improve. That is your owner and general manager, Jerry Jones, after this 44-19 loss to the Saints.
Well, he's got no choice, and as the general manager, he has to look at himself and, him and Mike McCarthy, Mike Zimmer, the staff, the team, they all have to sit down and feel like, and well, not feel like, but look at, okay, going into this week, what did we think were one of our strengths? What did we think we could take advantage of the Saints? What were our failures here? The failures were very evident with how they played defense. So, yeah, and, the one thing that I know about Mike Zimmer, you talk about correcting, Mike will not be a very, very happy guy this week with his defense. He just won't, and some guys will they'll get the message or they won't. And if they don't get the message, then, Mike will find a way not to play those guys. I'm not sitting here defending Mike Zimmer because today was a bad day for him. Last week was a good day. This week was a bad day. His defense had a bad day today. So need to find a way to correct the things that were bad in this game and then make sure it doesn't happen next week or anytime going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. The adjustments. You kept thinking maybe there's a drive. You come out, you see something a little bit different. They just didn't have an answer. Now with a week heading into an offense that again is going to test you running the football in Baltimore, a critical week for Mike Zimmer to see how they bounce back on that side of the football.
Yeah, then they've got a lot of work, because you watch this tape. It's nothing of. Last week's tape was beautiful. Everything about it, the pressures, the run, everything about it was fine. And you heard, for 1 week, you heard about, hey, this defense looks like it's back. Defense will be fine. I felt like today that with their just overall with the linebackers, that they would play better run defense. And the Saints did a good job of running the football and the physicality they play with. I keep using that word, but that's really what it was all about today.
A lot of frustration from Cowboy fans, and rightly so. Very disappointing, embarrassing loss here at home, 44-19, getting thoroughly beaten down to a pulp. And we'll be breaking this all down. The phone lines are filling up, 877-881-1053. We'll take your calls. We'll take more of your texts. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, Dak Prescott, and more. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correction. Miller Lite is brewed to be less filling. What are you doing here?
Miller Lite tastes great.
Look, I'm just reading the script. It says less filling.
That's not what my script says.
Well, mine says.
We'd like to apologize for the previous announcers. Miller Lite is in fact less filling and tastes great. Time to shine, legal guy.
Celebrate responsibly. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Beer. 96 calories and 3.2 grams carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
People will always come and go in our lives, but we all know those few who never left. The ones who make you stronger, build you up when you're broken down. The partners who've always had you covered. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, we know what it means to be there, guiding you toward a healthier state of mind. Because the more we know as individuals, the healthier we all feel as a community through it all.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
Don't fumble your wax routine. This season, not only are the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders hitting the field with smooth moves, but with smooth skin and cowboy confidence. Our official partners at European Wax Center are the best in the waxing game. Know what's better than a 1st and 10? Scoring your first wax free. Go to waxcenter.com to find a location near you. That's waxcenter.com.
The Cowboys are back. It's game time. And now you can get in the game with the new Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket from the Texas Lottery. Play for a shot at $100K. And enter for a chance to win wild Cowboys prizes like season tickets, VIP suite experiences, and draft day war room experiences. Make every day game day with Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets. Must be 18 or older. Play responsibly.
On the football field, I protect the end zone to give my team the best opportunity to win. At home, I protect my family. They mean the world to me, so I work hard to give them a life full of security and opportunity. Because just like in football, defense is the best offense. I'm DeMarcus Lawrence, and my kids are my beneficiaries.
Globe Life is the official life insurance of the Dallas Cowboys.
Who's your beneficiary?
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This is the Dallas Cowboys Pepsi Postgame Show. Pepsi, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. WinStar World Casino and Resort, proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Just an outstanding first possession for the Saints, who are first and goal at the 5. Straight I formation. Carr will hand the ball to Kamara, coming on the right side to the goal line, pushes through a tackle and scores. Touchdown, New Orleans.
It really was an outstanding first series, set the tone for the remainder of the game. 7 plays, 80 yards, 4 minutes and 10 seconds, culminating in that Alvin Kamara 5-yard touchdown run, one of his 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 receiving on the day as the New Orleans Saints beat your Dallas Cowboys 44-19 today at AT&T Stadium. Zach Wolchuk alongside Bryan Broaddus. From the Miller Lite Club, we'll hear from Mike McCarthy in just a moment, but I do want to get to your calls. And you just cheered for America's team on the field. Now see them on the reels. Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, now at a casino near you. Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. If you have a gambling problem, please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. Let's get to the phone lines, 877-881-1053. After a very frustrating and disappointing Cowboys loss today, we head out to Charlie in New Mexico. Charlie, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, guys. Well, what I've seen today was another year, but nothing has changed. We still can't cover the edge of the defense. I mean, they go around us like we're not even there. The offensive line still can't run block. And I'm telling you, I've been a fan since the Landry days, and I have never witnessed a defense this lethargic and bad in my life in the NFL. It was like anything the Saints wanted to do, they toyed with them. And then what made me even madder is this team gave up in the third quarter. And that's what made me the maddest. I can't understand why this team has not learned how to cover the edge yet.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Charlie. I think we're all frustrated and feel the same way. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, being up in the press box and watching this, and again, it's kind of a theme after these big losses, is the team kind of folding. You know, you don't see a lot of fight back or can somebody step up and provide an answer. The Saints had all the answers today, and there really was not a response at all defensively. And you're looking around really at your best players on that side of the football. You know, Micah, Diggs, Lawrence. I mean, Eric Kendricks, who was brilliant last week, led the team in tackles again today. But there was really just no answer. You were getting pushed around in the middle again as well. And look, I mean, the players are dejected walking off. I mean, they're upset about it as well, but they certainly didn't show a ton of the heart that I think a lot of fans right now are ticked off by.
I don't think you're giving the Saints enough credit, you know. I think that, the caller's all mad at, he's calling them quit and this, that, and the other. I don't think you're giving the Saints enough credit. I don't think any of us gave them enough credit.
I definitely didn't.
They were the better team today.
They kicked your butt.
They did. They came out and they blocked better than you. They had better scheme than you. They ran the ball better than you. They executed better than you. That's we should look at ourselves and think, that we did not give them nearly enough credit. And if you think they quit, I think it was more about the Saints just being a better football team. There's a difference between quit and just getting your ass kicked. And that was getting
their ass kicked today.
That was getting your ass kicked today. That wasn't quit. That was getting your ass kicked. So when you learn the difference between that and what it really, really is, then you'll be able to watch the game differently. But you got your ass kicked today is what happened there.
All right, let's go to Bayless in Houston. Bayless, what's going on?
Hey, y'all, just want to say thank you for taking my call. Also, I have to say this. Bobby Belt is an idiot. He ruined the morning show, and that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Bayless. I appreciate it, dude. All right, let's go to Jim in Round Rock. Jim, what's going on?
Crap, I nearly swallowed my gum on that one. Poor Bobby. Wolchuk Bryan, listen, I think when you go back and watch this game, you're going to see, Brian, you're right. It is the Saints did what they wanted to do today. We would line up. It seemed like when we would line up heavy to one side, they'd go to the other side. They were attacking. We were not running downhill. We were confused. And, we struggle with these Shanahan offenses. And I know, you ain't got Shanahan calling plays, but it's certainly off that tree. And the fruit's pretty good. Pretty good for the eating today for the Saints. But, yeah, it was disappointing. And, I do think we're going to have to ask some questions about this running game, though. I tell you, I know you couldn't run it because you're playing catch-up, but, oh, man, I tell you, it's just a few things here and there, a few different positions, and, boy, I tell you, you're right. Jalen Brooks, son, you gotta keep your feet. You gotta go up with power, and you gotta bring down that ball when your number's being called. But no, it's a disappointing, really disappointing game from the get-go. It was just frustrating, and yeah, I think the better team won today, and they just whooped our ass all over the field. They did whatever the hell they wanted to do, and I think that team's pretty good. Yeah, if there's any consolation, there was a bunch of crazy games, and the NFL, they're much closer than our games. But, yeah, some good teams that went down today. Second week, I have a feeling Mike Zimmer's going to eat those boys' ass out, and he's going to have them playing some football. It looks like the Ravens are going down. So we'll have a ball game next week, fellers.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And you're right. The NFL humble you very quickly. And certainly a humbling loss today as the Saints playing phenomenally well and the Cowboys not having an answer. 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. Let's go to Mark in Dallas. Mark, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Guys, I love listening to you. I wish we won the game. Unfortunately, we didn't, but you guys are fantastic every week. Cowboys are subpar. Y'all are fantastic every week. Two quick questions, though. Is there a running back out there on somebody's practice squad or backup running back that just goes by the nickname Stud that the Cowboys can trade for right now and get him on the roster? And the second thing is, are the Cowboys ever going to get anything out of Mozzie Smith? Like, I think this is the reason they drafted him, was help out and run support. And he's just been non-existent so far. So I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, they got Dalvin Cook on the practice squad. Maybe he ends up getting elevated and they give Dalvin a shot. I mean, I'm sure, look, the pro personnel department, they're always scouring the other team's rosters. If they feel that there is another player to bring in, then maybe they will do so eventually. But I just think right now they're looking at the running backs that they have and thinking, hey, we're 2 games in. Let's let these guys give them a chance.
Did you feel like the running backs were a problem today? I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be a smartass here.
I didn't think the running game was particularly good, but no.
I don't think you ever had a chance to run the ball.
Right.
Though,
the list of problems, I don't have the running backs at the top of them.
Yeah, see, to me, if this thing would have turned into a tight game like we're seeing right now in the NFL, it looks like there were a lot of games that came down to, I didn't get to see a ball, but seeing scores 23-20, that kind of stuff. If running the ball would have been the recipe, I was wanting last week, to work on it, try and see where you're at. But, to me, where this game was lost was the big plays the Saints were able to make. You really didn't play well on your front 7.
No.
And your offensive line and tight ends weren't particularly good either, when it came to down. But the bigger factor to me was just the huge plays, the chunk plays. The first drive of the game, they had 3 chunk plays, and they knew where they wanted to attack you. They felt like that you weren't good enough with Diggs, that you weren't good enough with Carson, you weren't good enough at safety, you weren't good enough with Nealon or Tank or Mozzie or any of that. I think the running game part of it, that's the furthest thing from my mind right now, You didn't get pressure today, but they didn't throw the ball all that much. They physically lined up and kicked your ass. That's the problem. That's the problem. That, to me, where was the physicality that you play with? And I think when you go back and watch the game and you're saying, wow, okay, well, how do they get to this? How do they get to that? Their offensive line was better today. Their defensive line was better today. That's where this game was really, really won, in my opinion.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams, long runs of 15 and 11. You had the 70-yard touchdown bomb to Shaheed. Chris Olave had a 39-yard catch. Alvin Kamara also had that 57-yard touchdown.
Chunk plays.
Huge plays.
Huge plays.
And they were gashing on the crossing routes.
Yeah.
The Cowboys weren't able to stop those. And they were running for basically 5 yards a carry every time they ran the football on you. So, yeah, anytime you're giving up big plays like that, it's a recipe to be defeated. And if you can't stop the run, it's demoralizing. It's going to be a long day at the office.
It's low-hanging fruit to talk about the Cowboys' running game. It was non-existent really last week, And now it's this week we're complaining. No, what you should focus on is how did they have so many chunk plays in this game. Where were you? And your inability to, when you got to the red zone, to do anything once you got in there. Kicking field goals all day is not going to get it done. We've talked about that.
No doubt. I would be curious to go back and watch some of those red zone possessions and maybe critique the running game in those scenarios, right?
The Saints were really successful when it came down to ball on the edge.
Yeah.
And then Kamara maybe, you saw guys get knocked down inside. You saw linebackers get knocked down inside. Diggs tries to come up. He turns. He gets washed. Now you're up on, now Kamara's up there, 12-yard run, 7-yard run down there. I mean, but Dallas was just their red zone offense not good today. Their red zone defense not good today. But how many damn big plays did they give up today? Huge plays.
Huge plays. All right, we'll get back to the phones here momentarily. Let's hear from Mike McCarthy, the head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, following this 44-19 loss to the Saints.
Good morning, Dallas Morning News. How do you describe just such a wide variance from how you played in the opener to how you played here today, 8 days later?
I think, going back to my comments during the week, I felt like we were playing a playoff caliber team. I think you look at the preparation coming into it, look at their games last year, which obviously you do in week 2. And they played well last week. Very disappointed in the way we played, from top down, starting myself here. The finish, particularly, as far as the different battles as you go through the game, the run game battle, we didn't win that on either side. Obviously the turnover battle, they won that. So I thought they did a better job finishing plays, and they hit their big plays. I think we were -3 at halftime. I don't know what it ended up, but we needed to keep pace. Complementary football. Defense was struggling obviously. Throughout the first 3 quarters, and we need to score touchdowns in the red zone. And we had some execution challenges that they were better than we were. So if we could have kept pace with them and kept that to a 1-score, possible 2-score game, then you come down the stretch and you're competing to win. So you need adversity games like this. You definitely don't want to ever perform like this. They played well. Give them credit. But yeah, I think like all of us, we're disappointed with our performance today. But the true reality is we'll take the film tomorrow. That'll tell the complete story. And there's no burn the tape. I'll sit here, so we don't. That's not the way I've ever operated. So we will take a hard look at it because we all need to learn from it. We got a new defensive staff, and this is the first time we were on cloud 9 last week, and now we got punched, and no differently offensively. We did not handle the adversity part of it to keep pace with the way the game was going. So, and more importantly, our young players they need to learn from this experience. So that's where we are. We're 1-1.
Clarence Hill from Clarence Hill, All City, Dallas. With all due respect, the offense need to keep pace was a theme that was the last time we were at AT&T Stadium against Green Bay. I hate bringing back Green Bay, but how do you explain the lack of resistance on defense? You couldn't stop them on third down. You couldn't stop run. You kept giving up big plays in the passing game.
Well, I don't think the last time we played here has anything to do with it. I understand the convenience of the criticism, and obviously I'm on the other side of it. So, but yeah, I think we've had changes on defense. Some of the changes we made was to put the emphasis on the run defense. Was not evident today. I mean, no doubt about it. They got the ball on our perimeter, time and time again. And they're, in the second level. So, once again, it's I'm going to quit saying, we need to play much better. I need to coach better. And, you never want to play that way, especially at home.
Yeah. Tim Kalishaw, Dallas Morning News. You don't seem overly shocked by this. Was there some concern on your part going in? You said you saw this as a Saints as a playoff team, that maybe your players didn't see them as a playoff team, that weren't taking them seriously enough?
I don't know, shocked. You compete in the NFL. We've been very good at home. The numbers speak for themselves. You don't ever want to lose a game, let alone lose like that. But it can happen to anybody in this league, and frankly, you'd rather happen early. So Yeah, I'm dishonest when you guys ask me what I think of the other team. Maybe I should just bullshit you like most other people do. Just sit and throw candy out there. But I thought they were a good team coming in there, and I thought they played well. If you watch the last 8 games of their season, and what they played last week, so this was a challenge, and we got to worry about ourselves, and we can't worry about what other people think or say, or what comes out of this. We need to just stay true to the football part of it, stay present, and work on this. So we got a lot of work to do. I told you that I stood here 7 days ago and talked about all the work, all the work that we needed to do, and we won by 3 scores. So this is part of this September football, challenge. And hey, in 7 days we got another playoff team coming in here. So we'll take the time tomorrow to learn from it, and we'll get ready for Baltimore.
Mike McCarthy, after a 44-19 Cowboys loss to the Saints, he's absolutely right. Got to give the opposition credit. But, one thing that the coach needs to figure out is the adversity part that he talked about.
Sure.
This team now, this is the first big loss this year, but it's a carryover from last year in these losses. They don't handle that well. When they get hit in the mouth, there is not a response. And that's something that they've got to figure out why. They need to get answers to that. It's also what in the offseason when you're building your football team, the physicality aspect of it. And I get it. And this is another Clint Kubiak deserves a ton of praise. He called a hell of a game. That offense presented a ton of challenge, and they're a good football team. But now he's also part of the McVays, the Shanahans, the Kevin O'Connells, right? This list, the Mike McDaniel. Some of these offenses that have given you problem in the past, and that was a conversation this week. Mike Zimmer, how would his defense be able to handle it? Well, the end result was the same. They've got to figure out moving forward. If they want to believe they've got a chance at improving and changing as a team, how do you respond to adversity, not allow yourself to continue to just get blown out when you start to fall behind? You can't be a front-running team all the time. And how do you find a way to answer to this schematic offense? Because it seems like they got your number.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there, what you just said. I think the most damning thing you said is that they don't handle adversity very well. I think that's where I would start. Is it something that, is the way the team is constructed? Is it a team that's built to play ahead? The physicality. To me, it was just very, very clear. And I'm sure when we watch the All-22 in the morning, it's going to be even more clear that, hey, that you just do not play well against teams that come out and want to make it a rough and tumble game. And I think that's the thing that, that to me on defense, I felt like with the linebackers they would be able to play the run better. I feel like they would get the positions. But today the front seven wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough. And where do they weren't interested in running inside where everybody's talking about, the tackles. Where do they run? They ran on the edges.
They did.
They ran on the perimeter. Mike just said it. So, they felt like that you're not good enough on the edges. And I think that's where, to me, is it about your toughness? Is it about the strength? Do you need to move guys around? Is this something where you got guys that are really, really good at rushing the passer and are just terrible against the run? I just thought the linebackers would be better at defending the run this year, but in week 2, they really haven't been.
I agree with you there. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. It is the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys from the Miller Lite Club. We'll talk with Bobby Belt next. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion.
winning scout Bryan Broaddus as we hang out here in the Miller Lite Club. We'll hear from quarterback Dak Prescott in just a moment. But following this 44-19 Cowboys defeat, we welcome in our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt, brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org, and AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Bobby, your thoughts after this thorough beatdown from New Orleans?
I've seen the Cowboys play better football before than they played today. This was not good, and one of the things I was sitting there trying to grapple with or consider while I was watching this game is whenever something like this happens, like you lose to Green Bay or a team that you feel like you're so much better than on paper, you start going like, okay, what did they do here? What trickery was there? What way did they basically, pull the wool over your eyes or do different things to kind of make this smoke and mirrors act of looking that much better than you? I think the concerning thing just at a first glance watching this was that I don't know that it's a whole bunch of just trickery and wow, they confused you so much versus just like you weren't very good. Like you looked like a bad football team today. And that's the thing is that it looked like out there on, like I think when we go back and watch the tape, maybe we'll see some specifics there, but first glance I looked at it and said, this just doesn't look like a football team that's better than the one they're up against. That was the concerning thing, I think, for me.
I think the big unknown, Bob, was that we were thinking that the Carolina Panthers were so damn bad. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden the Saints roll them, and you're kind of thinking, oh, this is just a new scheme, new coach, new this, new that, And I think that, I don't know, the players might have thought differently about going into this game. But they weren't, I'm not saying they weren't ready to play. I think it was really more about just how much the Saints were committed to, hey, we're going to attack you on defense. We're not scared. We're not scared of your pass rush.
No, they weren't.
We're not scared. We are going to say, if you have to play run defense, you're not rushing the passer today.
Yeah.
And even when the passes that they threw, they said, hey, we'll protect this thing up. And they took the shots, the deep crossing routes, the deep shot down the middle of the field. They're like, hey, we don't have to nickel and dime you guys. We don't think your corners are very good, and we don't think your run defense is good, as everybody's been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, they took complete advantage of things. And you mentioned, I mean, look at a couple different things there. You mentioned the run defense, which they were gashing the Cowboys in the run game. They pick up 190 yards on the ground. What do you think the long rush was today?
19 yards.
It's 15.
15?
That just is consistently they are running the ball down your throat for 5 to 8 yards every single time. They didn't need chunk plays to turn that into some aggressive, skewed statistic. They were just consistently, all right, we can get whatever we want. I think it was the last Kamara touchdown run where I was just like, I don't know, that looked inexcusable to me in terms of tackle the guy.
No doubt.
I understand he's difficult to bring down, but there's certain moments there where you got to tackle him. And their reputation the last few years, this football team is one of front runners.
Yeah.
That when they get up, they will make it embarrassing on you. But when they hit some adversity, they struggle.
Absolutely. That's what Zach was talking about.
They have a really tough time bouncing back when things don't go their way. And, I mean, again, you come off of last week, you had 17 quarterback hits, which was basically 18% of what you had all of last year as a team in one game. You know how many quarterback hits it was today? One. They hit Carr one time.
Yeah.
And they got a sack, but it was really just Chauncey Golston chasing Derek Carr
out of bounds. Right.
And so, I mean, you got absolutely nothing. They were able to completely protect Derek Carr. He looked completely comfortable. You weren't able to cover them, and you weren't able to stop the run game. This was just you were completely dominated and outclassed.
Yeah, it's disheartening because I think that it's just a theme in all of these losses. You couldn't stop the run. You weren't physical enough. Like, Saints were great today. They were the better team, 100%. But just from a Cowboys focus, it is an issue that after all of these losses, it seems to be the same talking points. They fall behind. They have no response. They're getting run down. They can't. Nobody's. Where was Micah today? Right. That's a lot of people were texting in. And hey, we might go look at the film, and the Saints did an excellent job of neutralizing Micah Parsons. But you got to figure out a way to then, hey, Micah comes off the field. You talked about this week, Brian, on our show, right? Micah's talking to Zim. You find ways to move him around. Let's try and get him some other matchups. I mean, it's frustrating, and I don't know that they have an answer because they have not now proven to have an answer.
Yeah, look, I also think that one of the things that Mike Zimmer, so I think Zimmer would tell you this himself after today, is that they didn't, even if they're keying in on him and they're trying to isolate him, they're trying to neutralize him. One of the things that Zimmer said over the offseason in an interview was, one of his criticisms was it looked like too often they were content to say, all right, if somebody's going to take Mike out of the game, we'll let him take him out of the game, we'll try to win elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, you got to find ways to adjust and let his impact be felt, regardless of what they're trying to take away. So if that's the case, even if they were trying to take him away, I think that Mike Zimmer would say, well, one of my goals coming in here was to not let that happen.
Sure.
And that didn't happen today. And so we've got to – Mike has got to be better.
I think they ran the ball at him some today, too.
They did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, I think here's the other thing is that when you – we may look back at this and say, man, there were busts in coverage, because there certainly were those at times.
Yeah.
It looked like there was one on the play that came back to the Foster Moreau score, I think it was, that got called back because of a legal man downfield. But when you look at that and say, man, there was this bust here, yeah, you know what, that's what Dan Quinn, I think, was always cautioning against when he would just give you static looks. Like, I don't want there to be any miscommunication pre-snap. You are going to have moments of miscommunication when you try to take advantage of things completely. Me personally, I'm willing to live with occasionally the communication isn't good, or you've got to improve certain communication in the name of making things difficult on teams pre-snap and not letting them know. And so to me, it's still what I think they need to be. I think they're in the defensive, scheme that they need to be in. The Zimmer look, I think, is something that is going to be really beneficial to this team, but the players themselves have got to get better about communicating and understanding what the call is and what their responsibility is and what's meant to be a dummy call or what's meant to be a certain look that you're going to back out of. And there's a lot of moving parts to it. Then if you've got somebody who's a poor communicator on the field, can cause a lot of problems really easily.
Offensively, anything stand out to you? I mean, we talked about the red zone issues, settling for a lot of field goals, weren't able to cash in a game that really the field goals, you could tell pretty early, you weren't going to win, settling for 3.
Yeah, they were fine today for a lot of the game. It wasn't good enough. But, I think overall, they had success moving the ball. They were able to take advantage of that at different times. I know there was a lot of, you obviously had the interception, the first one that Adebo had on the Jalen Brooks route, where it looked like Dak just released it right when Brooks was starting to slip out of his route. And then on the other one, I think that last one, it's not a good throw. It's a bad throw. It's a bad read. But, it's also, I think at that point,
I'm just fortunate
we're
to my
down,
best player.
We're down 20 with a quarter left. I'm just trying to make a play here. Like I think it was one of those things where it's an awful read, and it's one of those I'm trying to get all 20 points back on one throw. Like that's kind of what it felt like. And so they weren't good enough. They were pressing a lot in the second half because New Orleans was putting pressure on them. That's what happens when they score 6 touchdowns the first 6 times they touch the ball.
Tolbert ended up being heavily targeted today. And, he had the one play that I think was really a bad one along the sideline where it seemed like a first down. Huh? Yeah, and he needs to attack that ball. He gets hit, ends up being incomplete. I think it might have been the very next play. It ended up being intercepted, or one of the next ensuing plays. But overall, one of his best days, if not his best day as a pro. 6 catches, 82 yards, targeted 9 times. I think that was a question. If Ferguson's out, which he was, who then steps up in this offense outside of CeeDee Lamb? Brandon Cooks today, pretty limited, 2 catches, 19 yards. But, where else are you looking in this offense? If a team wants to take CeeDee out, who is stepping up for you?
There's part of that where you say who's stepping up for you, but then at the same time, we just the last time we were here at AT&T Stadium, we were talking about a group of no-name receivers for Green Bay, but they were all pretty good. They didn't need to be names to take advantage of what was in front of them. At the end of the day, these are NFL players. Brandon Cooks has never made a Pro Bowl, but that's a multi-thousand-yard receiver guy, like a guy who's had multiple seasons of that. Jalen Tolbert is a third-round pick who a lot of people thought could have gone in the second. Luke Schoonmaker is a second-round pick. You've got plenty of pedigree here that says those guys just need to make plays, especially if they're going to, bracket CD and take him out and do their best to kind of neutralize him a little bit. Is that, okay, well, that should be an advantage for these other guys that they can take it, that they're going to be able to lean into, and they just have not been able to do it at various points when teams take away CeeDee Lamb.
I'll tell you where I felt like that really the Saints had the advantage today, if you want to ask that question. Play caller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a really nice job of sticking with something, coming in with a plan, having an idea where to attack. That, I mean, as the lead was building, that play sheet got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But he made Dallas have to defend the whole field here today.
There's two very different offenses, very static, it seemed, a lot of times for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think that we talked about it in the pregame show. Just a lot of the concepts are similar to the ones you've seen from San Francisco and Miami and different things like that. They take advantage of that, and that's something that I know it's easy to say Dallas struggles with that. The whole NFL has been struggling with Miami concepts and San Francisco concepts. It is the hot trend for a reason, and teams are trying to figure out a way to neutralize it. But Dallas, if they can't be like everybody else across the NFL if they want to be considered a contender. If they want to be considered a contender, it can't be, well, everybody else gets hurt by it too. No, you got to be better. And giving up 48 and 44 in your last two home games is just not acceptable.
I don't know how they can be considered a contender right now. You just got your ass kicked at home to the Saints. You lost to Green Bay last year. And what kind of teams are you going to be playing against if we're talking about the physicality, the Shanahan type of? You're playing against San Francisco. You might have to see New Orleans again. Tampa Bay looks pretty darn good offensively, right? Do you see Green Bay again? Detroit came in here and you were able to steal a win. Detroit's probably going to run it down your throat. I think this team needs to prove a lot before they're considered, I know by the fan base, to be in the contender category.
Sure. Like, I mean, that's what the evaluation you're making. But, like, no doubt about it, like, heading into this year, they were considered one of the top NFC contenders. Whether they live up to that or not or prove it is one thing, but they've been there, and now it's a question of it. I will say this. I'm going to be interested to go back. I don't know if you saw this, Brian. I felt like they were doing some different things offensively, like play design and stuff like that, like where they were trying to get Turpin in space and try to get guys on the edge. And like, it felt like they knew, hey, some of this physicality can be tough. We need to get guys in space and to do some quick. So they were trying to do these quick strike throws to Turpin and get him out there, quick stuff to Lamb and stuff like that. And so I think it just it's trial and error. They keep pulling stuff out and going, okay, is this working? Nope. Let's try this. It's just it's a whole bunch of process of elimination. Game planning whenever they go up against these sort of schemes, it feels like.
When you got to block, your receivers got to block out there. You know, I mean, if we want to pray, I think the Saints did it great today. The 49ers do that. You know, we had Brooks miss a block when you're trying to get Turpin out there. Like the execution part of that, maybe there was some good ideas from Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy, but the execution of it was poor.
Be better. I mean, that's ultimately what this is about. The Cowboys, everybody's got jobs on the line this year, and I mean, 3 12-5 seasons in a row, you've got to be better than just doing what you did at home these last two games.
Thank you, Bobby.
Love you all.
All right, we love you more. We'll talk with the voice of the Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey, Cowboy fans. I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But
played better.
They did.
They when you execute the way they did, their screen designs were perfect. Their blocking execution was perfect. And I think I heard Brian say this a minute ago, and I said it during the game. They were coached better.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Their offensive scheme had to be executed, and it was executed perfectly as far as I could tell. But it was a superior scheme to whatever Dallas was trying to do defensively, as well as offensively. That was an interesting approach that the Cowboys took offensively, just completely different from last week. We had a lot of Turpin and Vaughn in space and in the backfield together. And I mean, the offense really didn't do too badly. A couple of mistakes, a sack. Brooks fell down for an interception. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're getting points on literally every possession. That should keep you in the game, and it did for a while. But the Saints just played better. If they made an offensive mistake for their first 7 or 8 possessions, I didn't see it.
Brad, we're early in the season, week 2. Where do you feel like that the Saints, when they did their study, made them attack the edges the way they did? Is there? I'm trying to kind of figure out where was the, I'm trying to remember in the Green Bay game or something. I mean, I wonder what made them just say, we are going to try and get to the perimeter as quickly as we can. Do you think they were worried about Dallas's inside linebackers?
Well, I felt like they attacked not outside the edges. They attacked in the C gap. Yeah. They didn't run up in the middle. A lot of it was outside, and that's because again, I really think of that particular zone scheme. You start up, not in the A gap, but you start with an inside. You stretch it, you block it, and the runners cut back.
Right.
And then there's 7 or 8 yards upfield before anybody puts a hand on them. I mean, it was just the Saints just won.
Yeah.
Now, the Cowboys didn't play well, especially on defense, obviously. But my opinion is, don't make this about how the Cowboys blew it. The Saints were just better today. Sometimes the other guy is better. Would they be, next week? I have no idea. But today, in every aspect, they were better.
Yeah, they were, and they deserve credit. But I wonder, Brad, to me, there's a bit of a theme in some of these losses now when the Cowboys fall down.
They've had one loss, Zach. They've had one loss.
They've had one loss.
Last year's team.
It's not last year's team, but the loss felt a lot like all the losses last year that they had. And there's a lot of the same players, and there's the same coach.
Well, it's a whole different defense. It's a different defensive coach. There are several different defensive players. So they've lost one game. This is not last year. They may not win another game. They may stink. But don't make this be about last year, because it's not last year. This is this year with all different kinds of problems and wrinkles and pluses and minuses, and you've got to figure it out for this year, and it takes more than 2 weeks.
Brad, would you say, though, that the Saints were more physical than the Cowboys today?
Yeah, absolutely. They were and they came out with a swagger defensively. That's the one thing that I would say that you would hope to see from your defense that we did not see today. The body language, the physicality. I'm talking about the Saints defense. I thought that was much superior to the Cowboys. Coaches have to live with that. Coaches have to figure out what to do about that, and players have to take some responsibility. But coaches have to do something about that, because I thought that was a big part. I would have loved to have seen the Saints practices this week, because they beat a really bad team last week, and you don't have to get that kind of swagger from beating a really bad team, but you can. and it appears that they did. So, yeah, I would say they were much more physical.
Yeah, and I think maybe that Zach, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, that there's a theme when they play against teams that have a physical nature to them, that maybe this is a problem.
Yeah, you can't stop the run, and you get bullied.
Well, yeah, the second touchdown was a 70-yard pass.
Sure.
The first possession, that was an 80-yard drive, and it was a great mix. It was not all run. They didn't run all the time. They really mixed it up. It was well conceived and well called. If you want to call Kamara's 57-yard screen pass a run, that's fine. But that's getting a great player in space and getting it blocked. So I didn't have the feeling that I had with Green Bay last year until the score started to get a little prohibitive.
Right.
It probably got in the Cowboys' heads. You had to change the way that you played. The Saints get even more physical and encouraged, and then they are pounding it. Now they're just pounding it. But when you go 70 yards on a pass play on the first on the first play of a possession, that's not pounding it. So they did a lot of, the pass, 19-yard pass down to the goal line. That was a great. That wasn't pounding it. That was just a great pass play. So it wasn't just. That's why, Zach, I don't think it was like the Green Bay game. The result might look similar, and the final numbers were, but I didn't think that that's the way the Saints were playing. They do have, now, something you said I agree with, and this was Kubiak brought part of this with him. They've got part of that San Francisco offense, where the stretches and the blocks and the seams are just perfect fits, and everybody executes.
Yes.
You watch the 49ers when they're cooking, and nobody's missing blocks.
Nope.
And so the Cowboys today had Jalen Brooks falls down, interception. Yep. Right? Jalen Brooks misses a block on the edge. They got a little bit bullied up the middle defensively. That is to say, the Saints defense, but they bullied as the game went on, and the Cowboys had to throw the ball more. And there was an atmosphere, an element of the physicality there that I don't think the Cowboys expected, because they really played. They blitzed a little bit, but they played four-man fronts for the most part.
Sure.
But you know what? It's week 2. If you're going to have that happen, have it happen in week 2. Now, the bad thing is my experience tells me and I really think it applies more to like a game like the Panthers played last week, but if you're going to get beat up from start to finish, and that happens early in the year, you're probably not a good team. But
that's fair.
But you were 21-13, so it's not like you were blown out from the beginning. You just didn't do enough to stay in the game. If you get a touchdown at the end of the half and a touchdown at the start of the half, you got a rip-roaring third and fourth quarter coming up. They weren't able to do that, but it's not like they were blown off the ball from the beginning. They just got beat by a better team today.
I just never felt like they were going to get a stop, Brad. I just never felt like they were going to get a stop.
It's hard to argue with that. I kept waiting for it to happen.
Sure.
I kept waiting for it to happen. Okay, well, now they're going to stop them, but they just never did. They just never did. And that's why I think that is part of the scheme, part of the coaching, and part of the way it was executed. I will be very interested to see if going forward the Cowboys get out-coached and out-schemed and out-executed like this anymore this year. If they do, then they're not very good. But if they don't, they might lose some close games. But I think they're better than what they played today.
Well, hopefully they bounce back, and it's a different showing next week. We'll catch up with you then, Brad. Thank you so much for the time, sir.
Yeah. Okay, Ravens are a piece of cake. They're 0-2. They can't.
Yeah, you're going to get their best.
No physicality there.
That's for sure.
Yeah, this will be nothing.
Oh, man.
All right, see you guys later.
Thank you, Brad. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. Yeah, I mean, 190 yards in 5 yards a carry for New Orleans, and the Cowboys didn't get a stop on defense until halfway through the fourth quarter with the Donovan Wilson interception. Certainly a lot to learn from in the second game of the season. And Brad, brought to you by WinStar, is the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar knows what it means to be a star. With over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games, the all-new two-story WinStar Spa, and Cascades, their luxury pool complex, WinStar really is the place to feel like a star. Please game responsibly. And we'll hear from, of course, Dak Prescott. We'll also get Eric Kendricks, Tyler Smith, some more player audio, and your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. Any thoughts from our conversation there with Brad?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this, though. I think that the thing that I really appreciate, he's seen a lot of these. You know, he's seen not so many. He's seen a lot of Cowboy games. You know.
Oh yeah.
And so you're sitting there thinking like his experience of this, and and hey, it's week 2, and as high as your high is last week, and as can be as low as you are right now. But I think the thing that he said is sometimes early in the year, if something like this happens to you and you don't respond, then you're probably not a very good football team.
Well, and
so
the one thing
that's the one thing I'm going to kind of keep in my mind that, like, okay, he's seen a lot of these.
Yeah.
He's seen a lot of these games, and, if in fact that they go out and lay an egg again next week, maybe they're not a very good football team, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, no question. And, I mean, look, I love and respect the hell out of Brad, but I do think this is a carryover of what we've been seeing here with that type of offense. And 100%, you got some new players at linebacker, Marshawn Nealand at end.
Yeah.
But a lot of the same problems just seem to be popping up here. And that's something where, hey, they'll have an opportunity to correct that going into Baltimore next week. All right, let's get more tape from the locker room and go back to the phones, 877-881-1053. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100 years, Pollock Aurora has been...
You can sign up to receive information that helps you recognize and avoid the latest scams. That's aarp.org/beatscammerstx.
Dallas Cowboys fans know a thing or two about legacy, commitment, and loyalty. That's why Kohler is our proud partner. With more than 150 years of craftsmanship, leading-edge design, and innovation, Kohler kitchen and bathroom products stand out and stand the test of time, just like our Cowboys. Experience the Kohler difference firsthand at the Kohler store in Dallas or the new location at Preston Park Village in Plano, and visit Kohler.com now.
Looks like safety help over the top. Third down back, set, stands, fade, deep to Tolbert, right side. Oh, what a catch! Being mugged by Adebo, and he stopped and came back to the ball and caught it. What a play.
Was an outstanding catch. Jalen Tolbert, 6 for 82 today, including that 39-yarder on 9 targets as he was stepping up in the absence of Jake Ferguson, trying to help the Cowboys get some more offensive weapons. Hell, Luke Schoonmaker today did have 6 catches for 43 yards on 6 targets. In the first drive, they threw to him back-to-back plays, moved the chains. They were trying to get him, it seemed like, some confidence going early on.
Yeah, but it seems so hollow.
It does. It does. I'm trying to just find positives.
No, I mean when you look at you're looking for Tolbert to step up, great. Looking for Schoonmaker to step up, great.
I mean, the whole day sucked,
and
Brian,
then the whole day just. But But if you are going to look at some positive things from this, though, Luke Schoonmaker, they with Ferguson out, I kind of felt like going into the game that there would be some opportunities to take advantage of the Saints with their safeties and those plays up the field, and give Saints defense a lot of credit too. I mean, they came in. We talk about the offense, how much how well they played today, but Saints defense, and people say, well, hell, Broaddus, they had a lead, they kind of played bend but don't break, making the Cowboys to get down the red zone, Cowboys having to kick field goals and stuff like that. They get that, Cowboys driving right before the half, and they get the turnover right there, turn that thing into points. So, it was a good day for the Saints defense, a good day for their offense especially. But I was thinking that this was a team that was probably a little talent poor in some areas, but sure in the hell didn't play like a talent poor team.
No, I owe a massive apology. I did not give the Saints one offensive line enough credit, and their defensive line enough credit.
Yeah, I felt like going into the game that maybe that they were going to be able to take advantage of what was going on that right side. With Penny and then Ruiz and.
Thought you could get some matchups over there with Parsons and Lawrence, who was coming off a great game.
That's where tomorrow morning when you get up and you watch, and you're gonna say, wow, okay, they did that. Well, they cracked toss, they did this. Oh, Parsons got hooked. Oh, look out, Nealon got hooked. It just, to me, it's going to be. I have a feeling that always tells the story for me when you look at how did they get to this play, or how did they get to, or how did the execution work here. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of really good, I thought some creative designs with the motions.
They did.
But, man, the way that their coordinator, Zim, tries to throw the blitz at him, and what do they get? They run the screen.
It was a perfect play call.
Yeah, I mean, it's
beat the blitz.
It's kind of like that they were, they were tapped in.
They were just a step ahead.
They were very much
They really were. It was a brilliantly called game from Clint Kubiak. And according to Next Gen, which I know you are now really becoming a Next Gen expert, Brian.
I am.
Alvin Kamara finished with 20 carries for 115 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground in the Saints' win over the Cowboys. He had 60% rush success rate, including 4 runs of 10-plus yards. All 4 big runs came on the outside to the left side specifically of the formation.
Well, here we go, and it's been, who plays on that side? Is this going to be 4 of those runs going to be against Micah Parsons? Are we going to see Micah? And Mike in the locker room, I know he was kind of talking about, he was defending Zim, and I'm not here to defend Zim myself, but he's like, hey, Zim, we got to look at ourselves and, be accountable for how we played. And, hopefully when we watch that tape that, that we'll be able to see that, that's Fuaga over there on that left hand. Yeah. That's that rookie,
it's a good player,
rookie tackle over there. And then, and then Foster Moreau, the tight end, and then you get the fullbacks in motion, or, you get those guys playing downhill, Taysom Hill playing downhill, guys getting blocks, and Kamara just great balance today on several of those runs.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. We'll get back to the phones here in just a little bit. Today's game between the Saints and the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium was brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. We do need to hear from Dak Prescott, though, the quarterback of your Dallas Cowboys, after this 44-19 defeat to the Saints. Here is number 4.
Dak Prescott, All City, Dallas, Clarence Hill, or something. Dak, can you one more time? Clarence Hill, All City, Dallas. Can you talk about the game getting away from you defensively? Did y'all try to press offensively? Did you feel yourself pressing?
It's hard to say that we're pressing, but obviously you're trying to play complementary football when your defense is struggling to stop a group. You want to do your part and score touchdowns and come back, and we weren't able to score touchdowns. I mean, we were able to move the ball up and down the field, but we couldn't score touchdowns. So I can't say that we were pressing necessarily. Going from last week to this week, as I said, there were some things that we wanted to get better at. We got better at third down this week, but now it's the red zone that I think we scored some touchdowns. It makes the defense feel a little bit better, and it's a whole different feel within the game for both sides of the ball.
Went for the CD early in the first half. It looked like he was open in his zone. Was that a misconnection? Or
just miscommunication. A play that just completely miscommunication. Nothing more than that. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it cleaned up and make that.
And Dak, Todd Archer, ESPN. Can you talk about the week-to-week nature of this league? Last week, you guys were riding a high in Cleveland, and then to have today, is this just the way the league goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's the NFL. I talk about each and every week. No games are played on paper. As far as riding a high, I know I wasn't personally. I don't think the guys in the locker room necessarily were. I mean, I talked about how much meat we left on the bone offensively, and that's simply why you can't listen to other people's opinions and read what you guys write respectfully. I mean, yeah, y'all may have put this team on a high more than we should have been, and now we just simply have got to reset. We've got to respond. We're not going undefeated. I mean, hadn't been done in 50 years. Woo, surprise. So it's about getting back to it and finding a way to respond to put the best team on the field next week.
Nick Harris, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. What's your assessment of the run game today? And I know the game kind of got away from the run game, but in the first half, what would be your assessment of it?
Yeah, I've got to watch the tape. Like you said, the game kind of got out of hand a little bit there, where we're forced to just throw the ball. And a lot of times, I hand the ball off, I carry out my fake, so I can't tell if it was the back or if it was the line or what it may be. So after I watch the tape, probably could give you a better assessment. But when the score's that way, you can't continue to run the ball. We had a drive there, I guess, when the second half that one drive came out. I know it ate up a lot of clock, and they get the ball back, and the third quarter's ending. So at that point, you realize, hey, we've got to score. We've got to score fast if we want to come back into this thing.
Saad Yusuf, The Athletic. Dak, where did you guys miss Jake the most today?
Everywhere, I guess you could say. Those young tight ends did a good job, though. Simply, they did a good job. But as I said before, throughout the week, Jake's much more than just a tight end on Sunday. I mean, he's an aggressor. He brings a physical nature to this group. He's got a mentality that other guys feed off of that's very contagious. And but as I said, those other guys did play well. They did their job. They stepped up. They made some plays, and just got away from us.
Just what were your emotions when Zach went down, and then also when he was able to come back into the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to think about all that. When he goes down, wishing the best for him. Tapped him, but then when he gets right back, he's right back in the huddle. You forget that he was injured, and a guy like that's a competitor. He's going to do whatever he can to get back on the field. So, thankful that he was okay.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Dak, on the second interception to Matthew where you were throwing a CD, was that a miscommunication or what sort of happened?
No, great play by him. We've got another crossing route right there. He did a good job of covering that and playing through that at the same time and running and making that play. So credit to him. That's on me. Can look him off more, I guess, or, get back to that first drive in the second window. That's one of those. If there's a throw that'll eat at me today, it's that one.
Dak Prescott after a disappointing loss to the Saints there. And, Dak's overall, when it comes to the outside noise, what we're talking about here in the post game, what anybody's going to write and say, it's all about the men in that locker room and their belief and them making the corrections and going out there and putting out a better showing against the Baltimore Ravens. He's absolutely right about that. You can't get too high after a win against the Browns. You can't get too low after getting smacked in the mouth today against the Saints. So, one thing this team hopefully shows us next week is they can pick themselves up and go out and bounce back after a difficult loss.
It's kind of like the NFL. You better find a way. Think about the desperation that the Ravens are playing with now. They lose next week to the Cowboys. They're 0-3 in this thing, and it's now the questions. I'm sure that people are going, heck, how can you let the Raiders come all the way across the country and play in an early game and get the better of you right there? So there's a lot of teams right now that, and the Saints are going to have to be a team that they're going to hear a lot of good things about them. The way they smacked around, the Carolina win got them no respect. This one got them some respect, but that's just kind of the way we are right now. We talk about and I think you have to be fair about it, though. We talked about how, with Zimmer and some of the things offensively and the way they were able to get pressure, and, those are things you report on. Those are things you're thinking.
Yeah, it doesn't look good today.
And it didn't work. It didn't work today, and so you're kind of like thinking, where is it? Is it really that good, or is it really that bad? Where does this fall? And if you go down next week and you fall on your face against the Ravens and you don't stop the run and you don't get pressure and you don't play well in the red zone, well, then you're starting to become who you are.
Yeah.
And I don't, like I said, the Saints, to me, didn't give them nearly enough credit. That is the way they play offensive football. They're a tough team to deal with the physicality that they play with. And Dallas didn't handle that very well, but Dallas has another opportunity next week, and we could be back at this same spot talking about, well, hey, they did this better, and it be a lot different. But that's the NFL. It's kind of a week-to-week thing for you.
Cowboys generating only 6 pressures on 17 dropbacks against Derek Carr today. That was a 35.3 pressure rate. That's the 4th lowest in a game since the start of
They weren't going to let
last
Cowboys
season.
do that, were they?
No,
they were not.
They didn't get any help there.
Yeah.
And Micah, in regards to Mike Zimmer and a blogging the boys tweet, allowing the opponent to score a touchdown on literally every possession is an interesting strategy choice from Zim. Well, Micah quote tweeting that, bleep ain't have nothing to do with Zim, but everything on us. Zim ain't the one playing. Yeah. So Micah and the players taking accountability.
Mike needs to take some accountability too, and he will. He'll he'll look at this. He'll take it personally, and they'll figure out what they have to do differently. If it's move personnel around or find ways to be better. I really did feel like though that it was going to be tough to run the ball on these guys, just because of the linebacker play. Just because
Demario Davis.
People were asking on Twitter, and I have no idea, folks. I'm sorry. I don't know why Overshown didn't play more, and I'm sure there'll be reasons that we can kind of dive into, tomorrow when we get the press conferences and things like that. But I'm interested to watch the tape, as always, and see, okay, was Clark that bad? Was Overshown? Could he have helped? Where were they? But it clearly, not having Overshown on the field, I don't know the reason why. I have no good answer for you there.
I know our buddy John Owning, he played 44 snaps last week, did Overshown, only 18 today.
Yeah. Something was up.
Yeah, that one's interesting. I'm sure we'll maybe find out during the week. All right, let's get back to the phone lines, 877-881-1053. And we will start. Let's go ahead and jump on with Scott in Jersey. What's going on, Scott? How are you, man?
Hey, guys. What's going on? My first call of the season. Thank you for taking it. I really appreciate it. Tough game tonight. We all know that, the Saints owned us, 10-4, as Mickey Schatz had said. But, Brian, my question is to you is what is more concerning going into the Ravens game? Is our run defense or our running game? Is it time to bring Dalvin Cook up, or we just stick with what we have?
I'm concerned right now with teams' ability to separate in the secondary and make huge plays.
Yeah.
That to me right there is, you talk about which is the run offense or run defense. I don't think the run offense mattered today. You were out of running the football today. To me, their ability to make big plays in the passing, even the limited number of times that they threw the ball. How many big plays they made doing that? But I'll check on the running game stuff. I mean, as far as the run defense stuff, try and get a little bit better understanding of that. But the fact that they hit those chunk plays throwing the football, boy, I didn't expect that today. That was something I think that got me a little bit concerned.
Yeah, and it was, the rookie Kalen Carson had a great start last week. I think, some of the crossing routes for him. There was one, I thought Jordan Lewis had tremendous coverage on Olave, and Derek Carr throws it low. Olave digs it out for a completion, and then there was another one, I think, maybe running away from Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
And then, of course, over the top, Hooker and Donovan Wilson getting beat for that big one with Shaheed. All right, let's go to Jake in Pennsylvania. Jake, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up? What do you got for us?
First of all, I just want to say I appreciate you guys taking my call. You guys definitely reach wide all the way out to Pennsylvania. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, so I definitely appreciate it.
Good man.
But I just wanted to say that I feel as if it's a lot of the same from last year. The Saints came out and they beat us the same way that, the 49ers beat us last year, the Packers beat us last year, and the Bills beat us, which is running the ball and being efficient with their quarterback. They're running the ball down our throat, and then they're just hitting, like you said, those chunk plays, and it just feels like we're struggling still to stop them. And then once Dak gets behind, he throws the interception because he tries to do too much. So I really just wonder, with having a different defensive coordinator, having different players, maybe it's time to start looking at Mike McCarthy, and where we're at in that situation. If we drop the Ravens game next week or drop a couple more and get behind the sticks, so to speak, maybe it would be time to hand those reins over to Mike Zimmer. Tell me what you guys think. Appreciate it.
I appreciate the call, Jake. There's some that will say, hey, that's last year. All right, this is a new team. There's new players. There's no correlation there. It's not the same. Okay, Jake, it's not the same. But I agree with you. I think there are a lot of the same common factors in this one. And we'll see next week against Baltimore. We'll see against San Francisco. We'll see against Houston. They play a lot of good teams this year on the schedule. But in terms of Coach McCarthy, it's one of these crazy things. Like, you win 36 games in 3 years. But I do, to me, the front-running mentality and the inability to really handle adversity, and Coach talks about it. Mm-hmm. But I think that, it is fair to kind of look at the head coach in those type of moments and be like, man, what is it? Like, what's the answer to the why here? When this team starts to struggle and gets down, they don't really have a positive response.
Sure. I don't think they're going to do anything with the head coach this year.
I don't think it'll happen in season either.
No, I think that it'll be, unless you get in a situation much like you had with Wade Phillips where, the team is completely, the team is completely quit on Wade and, you get into that mode. But I don't see them making a change. That always, to me, is the low-hanging fruit one. You change. You got to figure out, you did a lot of really nice things last week, and you did a lot of bad things this week.
Yeah.
You got to kind of figure out, you got to be a little bit more consistent with the good things or, try to and prevent the bad things. Mm-hmm. Last week at this time, we were very, very positive. The calls, everything was, wow, look at this, Zim, this, everything was really positive about it. And this week we're talking about firing coaches and this, that, and the other, and that's the NFL.
It is.
It swings one way to another, but you have got to figure out the good things that you did last week and say, okay, did we try and do that? Did we try and build on those? Is that something that we didn't take advantage of that we should have? I feel like that, to me, the Saints looked at their team and said, against Carolina, this is what we did. Mm-hmm. We ran the football, we threw the ball down the field. Chris Olave didn't make a bunch of big plays last week. But what did they do? They're like, listen, we think Dallas is not very good on the edges. We don't think Dallas is very good at corner. So let's attack. Let's take our best players. And see, that's all I'm asking every week Zimmer. I mean, Micah Parsons even talked about Zimmer and moving him around and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to move Micah Parsons around and then watch him just get hooked or knocked off the ball. It's just hard to watch that. And you're thinking like, oh, well, Saints did a good job. They knew exactly how they wanted to attack you. So, yeah, last week, a lot of positivity about things. Hey, we could build on this. This week, it's like, man, that wasn't worth a damn, and we have to figure out, which direction this team really, really is.
All right, we'll have our drive of the game. We'll get back to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Every moment, every touchdown, every yard is a reason to celebrate.
Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
This is the Dallas Cowboys Pepsi postgame show. Pepsi, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. Blockchain.com, make your crypto play today. The islands of the Bahamas, fly away. Jackpot.com. The Powerball jackpot continues to grow. Buy your Powerball tickets now on jackpot.com. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys.
And play action. Prescott back to throw. Deep to the right side. Lamb made a man miss and running down the sideline. And Lamb's on the horse. And Lamb's in the end zone.
CeeDee Lamb with the drive of the game. They're the only Cowboys touchdown drive, and what a play it was by CeeDee. Good throw by Dak. CeeDee making a tremendous catch and then finding a way to dodge through two Saints defenders and break away for the touchdown. As the Cowboys then cut it to 21-13. You're thinking, all right, let's get a stop. All of a sudden, you can get right back in this game. That was our drive of the game. 4 plays, 78 yards, 146. Brought to you by Blockchain. Trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder with blockchain.com. Unfortunately, the stops did not come until the fourth quarter. They did not. They did not.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, they did. Yeah, unfortunately.
Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus from the Miller Lite Club. I do want to address a couple of texts before we dive back into the calls. You know, addressing Cleveland, like we're giving Cleveland too much credit. The Browns won a game today. They beat Jacksonville.
Went to Jacksonville and won.
They're 1-1, and they were a playoff team last year. Like, I hear you. The Browns' offense, and I believe we did say this in the post-game show, but I know some people want to have, choice ears and hearing. They had 2 backup tackles, and what the Cowboys did was go out there and took care of business. And I think we did say, like, hey, when you play against an offense that's going to test you, and the Saints seem like they would this week, we'll see. Well, today you got hit in the mouth. So now we're wondering, all right, how good is this defense? And next week you'll get another great challenge. But you can't not analyze what you saw last week against the Cleveland Browns. That's kind of the point of doing a post-game show and talking game to game. So, look, I hear you. If you don't think the Browns are any good, respect. They might not be. But they're 1-1 just like you are, and they got to win today against Jacksonville. And they do have a very good defense.
Yeah, I think one of the better defenses that you'll probably play, And I'm wondering now with the Saints offense, when it's all said and done, when we look back, is this the one that's going to be where teams look at it and say, hey, if you want to attack Dallas, watch the Saints tape, but you have to have the personnel. You have to have the move fullbacks. You have to have the move tight end. You have to have a quarterback that's not, and I'll tell you, he was willing to stand in there and just chuck it. That pass he threw to Shaheed.
That touch, perfect.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, they get over the tops of the safeties, and you have to have the ability to put the ball right there and
right over Donovan Wilson.
Yeah. So again, Brad Champ said, Saints might not win another game, but my gosh, for one day in September here at AT&T, they looked like a juggernaut the way they played.
Definitely did. So they looked very, very good today, but still early in the season, trying to figure out who you are as a team. And the Cowboys will get
they're
an opportunity
2-0.
to shake this out. Yeah, they look like they're legit one of the best teams in the conference right now. All right, let's get back to the phones. 877-881-1053. 877-881-1053. Let's go out to Eric in New Hampshire. Eric, how you doing?
Hey, guys, how are you today? I'm just disgusted. This is the same old McCarthy blueprint. Teams know how to beat them, and I have one word to say. Bring Belichick in.
Oh, interesting.
Bill. Maybe. And that will be something moving forward. You'll have to see how the season goes. Again, like we addressed this previously, I don't think a change is made in season.
No, I don't either.
I don't think that happens.
No. And I would be interested now with Dak Prescott committed, after this season, 4 more years? Do you feel like you need to go and get a defensive coach? Do you feel like you need a defensive head coach? And the thing about Belichick, it's very reminiscent of how Tom Landry's career ended in Dallas.
Yeah.
The legendary Hall of Fame coach, the last 3 years doesn't draft worth a damn. And when you don't draft worth a damn and you don't have personnel, you're going to get beat. And I don't know if Steven and Will McClay are really interested in bringing in Belichick for the reason of, does it upset how you evaluate your drafts and stuff like that? Does he want personnel control like that? And I can't get anybody to tell me that the last 3 years of Belichick drafting that you want to give him personnel control of anything. Now coach, tremendous, but personnel guy right now, I think that might have passed him by a little bit.
I agree. Let's go to Gary in New Mexico. Gary, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, guys, enjoy listening to y'all. Everybody's got the pitchforks and the torches out right now, but let's just calm down. It's September the 15th. There's a lot of football left to be played. And I listened to your first caller that talked about being a fan since the Landry years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm 52 years old. I've been a fan all my life. I've seen all of those games. I've seen plenty of great Cowboy teams that had really bad early season losses. So there's a lot that can be done to fix this. Let's just see how it plays out.
Hey, I appreciate the positivity there. Thank you very much. And you're right. Hey, early in the season, it's 1-1. There's still a lot of football to be played. I think the real test is how do you respond, right?
Yeah. Well, the response, the what you have to wait on, though, is, like, do you get the things that, like I said, last week you did some things very, very well. And were you able to build on those, or was that just something that's going to be week to week? You know, as good as you were last week in some areas, you were awful in areas this week.
Yeah.
You know, the pressure, the run defense, all that stuff was great last week. But, you know, today was a lot about your inability to cover on the back end, not prevent the big play, and then get beat in your front seven with their running game. That's where this thing came down today.
And just getting zero pass rush.
Yeah. But did they really have to throw the ball?
They didn't, but early in the game.
You couldn't cover even when they did throw the ball.
No, but you'd hope that, like, maybe if you can get home, that mitigates that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I hear you. And ultimately, it's 17 passes. I think that's all Derek Carr needed today.
Yeah.
Because you built such a big lead. All right, let's go to Kevin. Kevin, who is on the road.
Man, I appreciate you taking my call. I heard some things from some people today that surprised me. I actually agree with most of what Bobby Belt said and kind of disagree with some of what Brad said. But anyway, and Brian, I got something to say to you, and I'm not picking at you, and I know you got strong shoulders, so you can handle it. But you said something that's been a long, over an hour ago, so I'm not going to try to quote it, but I'll paraphrase it. You were talking about giving the Saints their credit. You said, when you get to the point where you can see the game this way, you'll understand it better, or something like that. But I got this to say. I'm not part of the franchise. I don't work for the franchise, and I'm not a sheep. I'm a true diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, and I don't care about giving the Saints their credit. Sure. I care about holding my Dallas Cowboys accountable and making them responsible. That's what I care about.
Right. So you don't want to give the Saints any credit for how they played you today, then, right?
No, I don't. And I'm going to keep going because I'm on a roll here. But for the past 30 years, this team has been nothing more than slightly better than average at times and poor at times. And you can say, oh, well, we made the playoffs. You make the playoffs, you're a good team. Well, okay, there are 32 teams in the league. 12 of them make the playoffs. So, yeah, you might be a tick above average if you make the playoffs. But when you get put out in the wild card round or get put out in the division round, sometimes you probably are average.
Yeah, I mean, I hear your side of this, Mike. I do. I appreciate the call, and Kevin, thank you so much for waiting, and for everybody who stays on hold. I know we got a lot of moving parts on the post-game show, and we just can't go call. So I appreciate everybody's patience, but I get the frustration. I mean, there's a lot of times after games. I mean, I do think you got to give the opposition some credit when you get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
But I'm always looking at it through Cowboys goggles, and it's like, what could my team have done to be better? And, it's frustrating when you kind of just seem like you're getting the same old end result every year, and you're losing against good teams, and you're getting your ass kicked against
But you didn't think the Saints going into this game were very good?
I didn't.
Okay.
I thought the Saints were fool's gold last week.
Yeah.
I did.
I think a lot of people did, too.
And I'm admitting I was dead balls wrong on that.
Sure.
I thought their offensive line is so much better, at least today.
That's why I'm
giving them better.
That's why I'm giving them credit.
And they deserve it.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
I mean, they do deserve it. But I can understand the upset Cowboys fan that is disgusted by what they saw today, and it's like, well, screw the damn Saints. How can we fix our issues right now?
Well, last week at this time, you and I were talking about, like, that we were so positive about the way things were going.
Yeah.
And now we're riding the roller coaster on the way down, Yeah, everybody was like, man, well, Zim did a great job. Zim did this. Zim did that. Look at the pressure. Hey, Dan Quinn never did this and all that, So, that to me, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and not give the Saints credit for a good game plan.
Yeah.
They executed well. You could be the pissed off Cowboy fan. I'm not saying you don't, I'm not saying you can't be that guy. But to sit there and not give the Saints credit for that, you went into this game thinking that you were clearly better than them, and maybe the fact that I was convincing you that you were better, Well, shame on me for doing that if that's what you believe.
I was wrong. I thought the Cowboys were better than the Saints, and they'd win this game by 2 touchdowns today. And that definitely did not happen. All right, let's take one more call in here before we break and get to the final hour. Let's go to our buddy Polo in Garland. Polo, you said you weren't going to do this anymore, my man.
What's up, Willie Bully? What's up, brother?
What up?
It hasn't even been 48 hours that I told y'all Friday. I said, watch out for Alvin Kamara. I told y'all that. And what you tell me, Willie Bully? Well, the Cowboy defense is just as fast as the Saints offense. No, it's not. All this praise, y'all talking about Michael Parsons this. What does Michael Parsons do, man? I don't really see what y'all see him as a superstar. Yeah, he may get a couple of sacks, but during the end of the season, in the playoffs, he don't do squat. I know he beat up. That's why I hate that Sam Williams got hurt. Because Sam Williams could be playing at end, which is a bigger body, and like let Michael Parsons be a linebacker. You're not no defensive end. I'm tired of the Cowboys thinking they pretty, like CeeDee Lamb. I'm glad you got popped today. Wake up. You're not pretty. Mike Zimmer, you too old. We need a head coach that played Madden. Yes, play Madden on PlayStation. Get some new plays. You still doing these plays when you won the Super Bowl when it was snowing that day. Mike McCarthy, you got to go. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Polo. And, yeah, I thought the Cowboys' team speed on defense was going to be enough, but they weren't today. They were not able to get to the edge and stop a nosebleed.
You got blocked today.
You did.
You really got blocked today.
It was hat on a hat. They could not shed.
They're tight ends, fullbacks. I'm going to give them credit again. I know people are driving around and hate me doing that, but their plan was outstanding in this football game. It really, really was. Execution was better.
The execution, I think, is huge.
Oh, gosh.
On this,
they kicked your ass.
Man, yeah. Absolutely. Because there were some plays I think the Cowboys are going to go back and look and say, man, we left some opportunities out there because we didn't execute.
Yeah.
We didn't hold up some blocks.
Sure.
We didn't get out in space and do what we were supposed to do there. And the Saints did. The Saints absolutely did. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. We'll get more locker room audio and keep your calls and texts coming. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Did you know that responding to one spam call can lead to more? Or that the IRS would never ask for your Social Security?
He came in out here today and played it from the kickoff to the first kickoff to the buzzer. But I want to give them a lot of credit. For everybody, though, this is early. This is very, very early. And we certainly didn't see this coming. But obviously, we got a lot of room for improvement here.
Jerry, what concerns you most about what you saw from Mike Zimmer's defense today?
Well, I think fundamentally, I think that their outside runs were the thing that got my attention the most. They did seemingly walled off our linebackers and were able to not get the inside pursuit. And with that, I'd say that in a nutshell. But that's not really what this is about. What this is about is this is early. The big lesson here is you can get to thinking you've got it figured out way too early in the game. We're 1-1, and we've got to learn, and this group right here has got to learn from what they experienced out there today.
With the talent you have on defense, are you surprised that they weren't able to get after Derek Carr more than they did?
Well, I think that he was throwing the ball quick, but he had the benefit of against us today of a heck of a running game. When you can run the ball like he was running the ball, then you can, especially if you're releasing that ball quick, you can have an effective passing game. So the whole thing was working good, and it wasn't just for a quarter. It worked that way out there for several quarters. So extraordinarily disappointing for our fans. We will correct this. We will improve from where we played out there today.
Jerry, the defense, in particular, the run defense has been a problem for recent years. Why are you not concerned about it at this point?
Well, I didn't say I wasn't concerned about the defense at all. We're all want to play better on defense than we played out there today. But we've got some players out there that can make a better account than you saw out there today. So we've got a lot of work to do.
There's Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones following a 44-19 defeat. Right now, let's pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
Hard to argue with much of what Jerry said there. I mean, he pointed out, hey, they attacked the edges. Didn't say I'm not concerned about the defense. I think there's definitely a better showing that our players can put out there. I think that all the players would look at themselves and say, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. We did not play well today, starting with probably your best player in Micah Parsons. I think he would say that as well. And the coaching staff, I'm sure, would say the same thing. So, Jerry sharing a lot of the thoughts that we've been discussing over the course of this 3-hour post-game show. As we're in the final hour, we'll take you until 6 o'clock. If you want to hang around to the flagship, 105.3 The Fan, or listen on the Odyssey app, there'll be a post-game show with Fred Davis and Chris Arnold as well. But anything stand out to you from what Jerry said there?
No, I think when he sits down and watches the tape with McCarthy and the coaches and Will, and they kind of get into it a little bit, and get a full autopsy of what happened, I think his assessment from his box is the right thing. Yeah. That their ability to pin you inside, and whether it was the crack toss blocks, the down blocks, pin and pulls, I'm sure there's, playing with a fullback, moving a tight end. I've kind of learned about this Shanahan type of offense where if you follow where the guy is moving from, the motion, that's generally where the ball's going to go. That to me seems like a pretty good key. But they did a great job with their receivers on the edge. Their tackles did a great job. The rookie tackle Faga, I thought, the big runs, you mentioned it, the 10-plus yard runs that Kamara had was off that left side. I'm sure Foster Moreau was blocking, and Taysom Hill. I mean, they had some guys that were coming off the ball pretty well there. So I think Jerry's right that his guys got pinned in pretty handedly. Got taken, and all of a sudden you wad up things on the edge, like with that at that end. You wad him up and turn him back. Now everybody's going to have to run the hump, and you got blockers out in front or hats on hats of guys, and that's going to be difficult to stop right there, and I think the Cowboys got caught in that today.
Did you see, when you went back and did your film study, was that an area that Cleveland tried to attack the Cowboys on, and the Cowboys just played it better last week, or did they not really even attack the edges much?
They really – the ball it wasn't as pronounced.
Yeah.
When you watch the Saints run, how much – under center is just so prevalent – because it's take the snap and then run the ball to Kamara with the blocker in front, or the offset blocker, or it gives them opportunity. Like, you hand the ball inside to Kamara just off, he's not going to be as effective because he's playing sideways. It's almost like watching DeMarco Murray play back in the day.
Yeah.
You hand it to him sideways, he's a different back, as when you hand it to him, you take it to him, and he gets to go downhill. But I kind of felt like that Cleveland got in a situation where, teams next week, like when the Ravens, get ready for toss.
Well, and Lamar's going to keep it and go straight to the edge.
Yeah, and then, you could do that. Yeah, you're going to see that, the handoff, the fake handoff, and then attack that edge. Dallas, until you prove that you can handle this, teams are going to take advantage of you that way, and might even take advantage of you, too, with the corners. With Diggs, we'll see about him and Carson, the safeties. I just think as a secondary, throw Lewis in there as well. Probably not the best effort for the limited number of passes they had to face today.
Yeah, you've talked the consistency, and it was, like last week, Jordan Lewis was so darn good coming up and tackling, right? And, today, you didn't have that from your secondary and the safety play, and that's what's a bummer, because I know we've gotten a lot of texts, and a lot of people have reached out on Twitter, and you guys said that this was improved, and to me, I thought they had taken a step forward in that regard with Marshawn.
They did tackle well last week.
Yeah,
that's the thing about
the
it.
Linebackers, but today it didn't look the same. It didn't look like the same
hell
defense.
No. And if you want to sit there and blame, if it makes you feel better blaming Zach,
I'll take the blame. That's fine.
If you want to blame everybody on 105.3, that blame myself, Och Lombardi, anybody you want to blame, if it makes you feel better, hey, come on, we'll take the blame.
I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, we're all here for it, but like I said, all we could do is watch and see and kind of make an analysis of it. And hey, if I known the Saints were going to kick your ass the way they did today, I'd have picked them to win the football game.
Yeah.
I would have said,
hey, the Cowboys by
Saints,
2 touchdowns. I look like an idiot.
Saints in a blowout today. If it makes you feel better, you folks out there are kind of like, well, you told us. You saw it with your own eyes too. You saw last week how things looked different with Mike Zimmer's defense.
Yeah.
This week, he got his ass kicked. The whole defense got their ass kicked. Offense wasn't particularly good either. That's what happens to you week to week in the NFL. You know, if you want to sit there and it's amazing to me that folks are just kind of like losing their damn minds right now over this thing. You know, you just saw what happened. Yeah, I told you last week, this is how they looked. And everybody's like, yeah. And then you watch and everybody's like, oh, sure, yeah, this was a lot different. Today, you got your ass handed to you. That you told us this was a better defense. You told us Mike Zimmer, your buddy, was better.
I thought it was. And I still believe in Zim.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that they can come back and get this thing corrected next week. But, yeah, I mean, the emotion part of it, I'm with a lot of you out there. I mean, I'm 33. I've been a Cowboys fan my entire life. Brian, you've been a Cowboys fan your entire life. I said it to you while we were walking down. I'm like, man, sometimes I wish I just didn't care so much.
Yeah.
I do.
There's a lot of people out there right now that don't.
Yeah.
That they've gone on with their day and like, yeah, okay, that's.
I can't. Like, I'll go home and I'm going to be upset about it. Like, I love this football team and I always will.
Well, see, now it's our job to be able to kind of talk about it, but people are going to say, well, last week you said they didn't tackle very well. I mean, and I'm like, we appreciate when you listen. I really do. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't appreciate when you listen, but you have the opportunity yourself to go back and look at it. You have that opportunity. The league gives you opportunity. Not everybody can afford it, and I understand. It's an expensive deal to go and get but you can watch it and kind of see yourself. Like, wow, this does look like it's different from last week. Oh, this looks better, or this looks worse, or hey, they didn't play the point of attack very well. Now, these are all things, I guarantee you, 340 tomorrow at Krusty's Corner, when I break this thing down, it's going to be like, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. You know, and it hopefully will paint you a little bit clearer picture of the ass kicking you saw today.
Yeah, and you're right, 817. I blame Chiafalo too. I think it's all his fault. That dude.
I wish I'd have picked the Saints now.
Yeah, I mean that guy. He's to blame. He really is. All right, let's get back
Dawson
to the phones.
did pick the Saints, didn't he?
Yeah, he flip-flopped. he flip-flopped, and I can't wait to do a 5-hour show with him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I do look forward to it. All right, let's go to Randy in California. Randy, I don't think you're feeling Randy.
Thank you. Hey, thank you guys. I already know you guys are doing pretty good. Hey, I think all these fans need to calm down a little bit. It's just week 2, and that Saints defense did not run the same game plan they did against that young kid in Carolina, because they blitzed the hell out of that kid.
They sure did.
They did not do that to Dak, because they know Dak is one of the better quarterbacks against the blitz. But I just wanted to sit here and say about the run game. Why does it seem like Dallas seems to struggle in the run game? I don't think it's just like at the halfback, or I don't know if it's the offensive line. It's just I look at other teams that they're so creative, like with the motion of a tight end. And they crash down here, and they're pulling a guard, and it's like a tight end and a guard and a fullback. They're hitting up the middle down linebackers, and it just looks so dynamic, and it looks like the combination of what they're doing looks great compared to us. It looks like it's just hat on hat, and just hopefully something happens.
Yeah, Randy. Last week, real quick, there were trap blocks. There were. I mean, yeah, one of their best plays they run is a crack toss, which I don't think they ran today. I know the Saints ran it today.
Yeah, they did.
But Dallas last week, if you watch, there were traps, there were pulls, there were some pin and pull stuff. So the creativity last week, it didn't show up as far as stats, but they tried. I mean, the draw runs that they had last week. It's a little bit different. I just think they got so far behind in this game, the running game was not going to matter.
Yeah, it's a tough one to evaluate the rushing attack. I mean, there are times where I wonder, man, I'd like to see a little bit more creativity with the run, but we did see some glimpses of that last week.
Yeah.
And today I think we saw like Cooper Beebe was getting out there in space. They had one play where they were pulling to the outside, and I think it ended up being like a 6-yard run for maybe Rico Dowdle. But, yeah, I don't think you could really implement probably the full run display that you wanted to show or maybe you game planned for, because it ended up being a game where it's like, we got to throw the football.
Running the ball in the second half especially, and even if some in the first half, was a waste considering how bad you got behind in this football game.
Yeah. I would like to see a step forward when it comes to running the football in the red zone, because I think that mitigates a lot of things. Because it's so, when the field gets constricted, I think we've seen this. Like, there's times where Dak in the passing offense will struggle. If you can, and they had this in Zeke's early career when he was so dominant. When you are able to score 10-yard runs, 12-yard runs.
Oh, they had a couple.
Block it up front.
12-yard run to Kamara did today. Yeah.
It certainly alleviates a lot of pressure on your offense in that area of the field, and that's something moving forward. Maybe we can kind of watch a little closer on how this team develops.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Maybe when they choose to run, it's like a pass.
Yeah.
And it's incomplete, and then it's a run, and now you're setting up another.
You're running on second and long.
Yeah,
you're
running third down. Yeah. You're really. It's kind of when you choose to run. That, I think that's the thing that they need to kind of look into.
I agree, absolutely. 877-881-1053. More of your calls and texts. And how about this? The defensive stop of the game. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. When I got into this business, I used to make flavored vodka infusions for my friends as gifts.
it was Dak kind of just staring down CD, forcing it in there, and then it ended up being intercepted. So it was back-to-back interceptions. The Saints did end up punting, though, on the ensuing drives. The Cowboys were able to get their only 2 defensive stops there in the fourth quarter. 44-19, Saints all over your Dallas Cowboys this afternoon, as the Cowboys are now 1-1 on the season. They will not go ahead and break the 1972 Miami Dolphins record of a perfect season.
There you go.
That's not going to happen this year. Not this year, but maybe next year. Still a lot of football to be played, and it'll start next week against the Baltimore Ravens, who are still looking for their first win of the year. They lose to Heartbreaker last week.
Team.
Yeah, you're going to get the Ravens' best shot. There's no doubt about that.
I'll tell you, what about the questions the Ravens have now? They played a Thursday night game, lost a tough one. They had the extra days to the rest, and then the Raiders coming all the way across the country, early game. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot going against the Raiders right there for them to lose the game the way they did.
And it was a comeback for Vegas. They win it 26-23. Devontae Adams, a big day, 9 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Just looking ahead, and we'll preview the Ravens all week long, but maybe could be a good day for CeeDee Lamb if Devontae Adams was going to go off like that against Baltimore. I mean, Xavier Worthy certainly had a great Week 1 game against that Ravens defense as well. But I think the big conversation will be, how does this Cowboys run defense bounce back against a team in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry that want to run the football? And heck, last time you played Lamar Jackson, it was a long night. He ran all over you in what was a Thursday night football game in Baltimore a few years ago.
Yeah, there's that's going to be the trick. And need to sit down and figure out, okay, Saints committed to perimeter runs. What did they see that allowed them to have that kind of confidence and that kind of success? I mean, if you'd have told me last year's Cowboys team struggled with perimeter runs, there have been times where I said the edges weren't very good. Sam Williams, Fowler, those guys not very good out there. All of a sudden, corner not good.
Yeah.
Diggs. You had linebackers that were safeties playing. So
undersized. Marquise Bell.
Yeah, so you're kind of that's your thought right there. But what made the Saints feel like that they could have perimeter runs and have success? That's where it was toss right, toss left, toss right, toss left. And maybe that like I said, there'll be other teams that say, okay, well, Dallas obviously will struggle with some perimeter runs. You've got to get out of that mode.
Well, and one player that the Saints utilize, and obviously Baltimore doesn't have, Taysom Hill. It's just unreal.
What's that big-ass fullback they have, though?
Oh, Ricard?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have a big fullback.
Okay.
They do.
Get ready for get ready for – and the threat now of two is you have Lamar Jackson that can run.
Sure.
So
it's
all
a
of a
different
sudden
type
now,
of threat. Yeah.
Now it's the threat of, okay, we're going to attack the perimeter, but we're going to pull the ball and then run.
Yeah.
As you're committing to trying to get that taken care of.
Absolutely. But very impressed with just the variety of positions Taysom Hill can play.
Yeah.
It is crazy how they move him all over the
Moreau,
damn place.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got 3 guys that are interchangeable in that 21 and 22 personnel is what they've got. So, that's credit to them for the way they played.
All right, we'll get back to the phones here in just a minute.
Oh, wait, people don't want me to give them credit. I'm sorry.
No, Jay, you do whatever you want to do. It's okay. We're not always going to agree. Like, I love Brad, but I get like last year was last year, but there are a lot of similarities here in the way that they lost this game and how they've been losing games in the Mike McCarthy era, unfortunately. But I do want to hear from Tyler Smith, who caught up with our buddy, the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold, in the locker room postgame. Here's Tyler.
Tyler Smith, can you talk about what the Saints defense was doing that y'all either expected and didn't get done, or what they did that surprised you guys?
I mean, I think one thing they did a lot of line movement just to keep us from being able to get good looks inside of the box in the run game. And I felt like it kind of It was effective for them for sure. I mean, they kept us to short runs, put us in a lot of second and long, third and long situations where we had to pass the ball. I feel like that's what they were trying to get to, so that was kind of part of their game plan. I felt like it was effective for them. I can't say it was surprising or anything.
Was there a point in the game where you said, wait a minute, we in trouble?
I mean, I don't never think I said we're in trouble, but I think the biggest thing for us is we just got to come out early and ready to go. Like, they came out from the jump, scored on the first drive, scored on the second drive, scored on the third drive, and we had points. We just got to get in the end zone. I think that's our biggest thing. So finishing drives in the end zone, when the defense does give us something, I mean, it's just it's just paramount that we come out on top and take advantage of those opportunities, turn turnovers into points, and stay ahead of the sticks.
And finally, does this game remind you at all of Arizona? Some people say Green Bay, but Arizona, like early in the season, and wait a minute, this team comes out of nowhere, not supposed to be that good, and they dominate.
I mean, I think that's the thing about the NFL is, it's an any given Sunday type league. Like, everybody on every team on any given Sunday can beat anybody, and that's what makes a game competitive. That's what makes the game exciting. Biggest thing for us is really, deciding who we want to be. Like, we're going to look at the tape. We're not going to burn this stuff like Coach McCarthy said. We're going to look at the tape, and we really got to have an honest assessment with ourselves and see what we got to do better, what we got to execute on better, because it's going to show up all year. Like, some other team is going to watch this tape, try to implement the same type of strategy, and we got to overcome that by who we are, not only mentally, but who we are physically. Like, just taking advantage and playing our style of football.
I love listening to Tyler Smith talk. I mean, he is wise beyond his years. He has been since he was a rookie. And, I mean, I think that the personal self-reflection, he's 100% true. If you don't correct these problems, they're just going to keep popping up. And there are certainly areas where they have to fix. If they want to do anything different from Cowboys teams of the past, they've got to correct these things, and they've got to become a consistent football team, especially in these type of games against what the Saints look like they're going to be a postseason team. If you want to be a postseason team, you might have to play the Saints again. And you can't be showing up and playing like you did today and expect a different outcome if you're not willing to fix those mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I don't know what to say, into that. And I just think, to me, that I look at scheme, I look at game plan, I look at play caller, I don't think it was a lack of effort. Was there a lack of toughness? I look at it as the Saints came out and they said, we feel like that we could take advantage of this. We feel like that you're not good enough at this.
And they exploited that.
Yeah, and I think that Dallas tried to get stops. The Saints just didn't allow you to get stops. And that's where I feel like that you have to, when things aren't going well, you have to find a way to not let people take advantage of your weaknesses the way they – because I would have never guessed that the Saints' game plan was to say perimeter runs.
Yeah.
They're not good enough stopping perimeter runs. Because we've seen before where it's been, okay, off the tackles, but they were clearly trying to, with toss sweeps, they said your corners aren't physical enough, your safeties aren't physical enough, and we're going to cut your linebackers and your inside pursuit off. So to me, that does. I'd love to talk to somebody from the Saints and have them say, "Hey, we felt like coming into this game that Dallas was not good enough," and I don't know if it was. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's toughness or anything like that. I just think that, to me, Dallas got bullied today. They got bullied. They were trying to hang in there, and they didn't hang in there. That's the thing that concerns me the most is, what did the Saints see that said,
yeah, so,
it wasn't like last week that the Cleveland Browns all of a sudden said, hey, let's run toss sweep until they can't,
right.
till they stop it.
It didn't show up as a weakness last week that was like, okay, the Saints are and it's a copycat league.
Right.
You best believe, okay, the Ravens are going to go back and see, or what are the things the Saints did successfully? Can we implement some of that as well?
They probably felt like that Diggs wasn't going to be physical enough. They probably felt like Carson wasn't going to be physical enough. They said Hooker, if it's to Hooker's side. I'd be interested to see how many times they ran the ball to Hooker's side, or how many times they ran the ball to Wilson's side, and was Wilson out of place?
Yeah.
Or how many linebackers got, all these linebackers that are running to the ball. How many guys got pinned? Did we have some misreads? Did we have misdirection? Did we have guys just flat? Did the defensive tackles not hold up their end?
And I think that was big. I mean, I saw Linval Joseph today. It didn't seem like he was really being able to hold his own at the point of attack. It seemed like a rough day there as well. And that was something last week where you saw Jordan Phillips. We gave Mozzie some credit. Like, they did a good job to be able to keep the linebackers clean.
Right.
Mozzie
was a plus player last week. I'm interested to see across the defensive line who the plus players were.
Yeah.
Who are the liabilities? Because I don't think it's like, oh, heck, we'll let them run the football. I just feel like that the Saints had an idea of how they wanted to attack Dallas with the perimeter runs. There's something that just they said, hey, Dallas is not good enough to do this. And boy, I'd love to talk to somebody from the Saints and let them tell me, wow, this is why we did this. Is this, but like you said, this might be a team you face in the playoffs down the road too.
All right, let's get back to maybe. If you're able to make it, we'll see. Like the Saints had we've seen teams have a great start and then it doesn't necessarily finish the season like that.
Philadelphia.
But no doubt. But it looks like the Saints are for real. 877-881-1053. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Eli in Dallas. Eli, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
What's going on, buddy?
What's up?
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm just saying, man, I've always been a Cowboy fan. Mostly, man, I ain't even involved more with that team. But anyway, they have no running game. Dak is not the future, sure not the present. And Ezekiel is not the future. He's not the present. And then y'all want to always make excuses. 105.3 The Fan, y'all guys.
Oh, I think we lost Eli. Yeah, I think you dropped. I would have loved to have heard where you were going with that.
I think he was about to rip us on 105.3 The Fan for being too nice or something like that, or not being honest about it. I don't know. I had a feeling there was about to be a compliment sandwich there.
Yeah.
Where, like, well, and then, and all of a sudden that's okay.
Yeah.
Seriously, folks, if it makes you feel better, you just want to just be mad, at Bryan Broaddus is good. Just go at Bryan Broaddus and then talk about things that I said that, like, yeah, you told me this and you told me that. If it makes you feel better, we could do this all year. We got what, 15 more of these games to kind of talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. If it makes you feel better, feel free. At Bryan Broaddus, go for it.
All right, let's go to Frank in Maryland. Frank, what's going on, man?
Hey, first-time caller, long-time listener. I just wanted to talk about the defensive line. You guys have been covering it pretty well. You watch that line get blown off the ball, play after play after play after play. And when they string them out and run to the outside, the perimeter, they're 5 yards back and literally in Eric Kendrick's lap. There's no way a linebacker can cover a play like that when the defensive line is completely destroyed. And I guess the thing is, you look at last year, it was the same problem. They got crushed in Buffalo, crushed in San Francisco, crushed obviously in Green Bay. They were a bad defensive line then. They got weaker, and they're a worse defensive line now. So I guess it makes me feel like their chances of doing anything this year, in my mind, have just completely evaporated because it's just the same story all over again.
Okay, I know Brian has something that he wants to ask Frank. Yeah,
Frank, first-time caller, right?
Yep.
You trying to get through last week by any chance?
I tried to get through. No, actually not last week. A while back I tried to get through but didn't get through.
Can I have your assessment of how the front seven played against Cleveland last week, please?
They looked good, but at times you could still see the same thing, right? You would still see them get pushed back. And all I do, because I don't go back and watch the film over and over, it's just at the initial snap, If they're running the ball, if the other team is running the ball at the initial snap, does the line go forward or backwards? And with that team, it always goes backwards.
But if you could have called in last week, you would have praised this defensive line, wouldn't you?
I would say I would have praised Mozzie for sure because I agreed. Like what
I'm just
you said
saying
about,
overall, the way the front seven played last week, you would have praised them, right?
I would, yeah, for sure. I think they played a lot better
make sure.
last week.
Yeah, just want to make sure we're good.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were a lot better last week, Frank. I'm with you today. It was a poor showing.
Yeah.
100% it was.
I just want to make sure that we're fair about this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate the call there, Frank. And like 904, that definitely was an accidental. Eli, we lost Eli. Eli, you're more than welcome to call back. We don't.
They say
care.
we cut him off.
Well, yeah, we don't care about taking the criticism, dude. That's not us. We're not just because a guy wants to go ahead and rip me or Brian or the station.
I told you if you're on,
an issue.
If you're on Twitter, feel free. I'm going to be on with Voch Lombardi after this one too. You feel free to rip me on that one if you want to. If it makes you feel better, I'm all about trying to make you feel better.
Hey, it's Cowboys therapy right now. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Cowboy Scott. What's going on, man?
What's going on, fellas? First of all, thanks for what you guys do. I'm here in North Carolina. Listen to you during the day. Listen to you after every game, even if it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Cowboy Scott's going to be on. Big Cowboy fan. I don't only love them, I live them like you guys. And I'm not one of those ones because I'm not at practice every day. I try to keep up with everything. But I was in Cleveland last weekend and really excited. 7 more stadiums. I'll see them playing every stadium, but you made a point earlier in the show, and something that I really believe. I was in Arizona last year,
and
I made the comment to my uncle, lives in Watauga, Uncle Jim, that we were a step slow all day after coming in 2-0 and playing 2 great games. And it almost, listen, don't take anything away from New Orleans. You got to give them their due. They came in ready to play. But we just looked, especially defensively, a step slow today. It's one game. You have this kind of game at least once a year. Let's get over it, move on, because I think we got a good 0-2 Baltimore team coming in that we can beat. And if you're a true Cowboy, you ain't calling in complaining. You calling in wanting to win the next game and get better. That's what Cowboy Scott does every week.
I appreciate
but
you,
they
Scott.
played bad today, Scott.
They did.
They played bad, and you know what? This team is not as good, and I didn't think it was as good as Cleveland's team. You know, the difference was the quarterback today. The quarterback and the play caller, I thought, was really, really good.
Yeah, and the line. I mean, you had an offensive line that played well for the Saints. And,
sure did.
Cleveland was
and there were
broken.
a lot of questions about the health of some of their offensive linemen.
Fuaga with the back came out and played phenomenally well. And Penning on that side.
Yeah.
There's a guy that we liked coming out, but he really struggled throughout his career.
He was
over on the right side. He was really good today.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yep.
All right. Appreciate everybody who's been calling in and texting in 877-881-1053. We'll put a bow on this one. We'll go around the league, give you a scoreboard update as well. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Dallas Cowboys fans know a thing or two about legacy, commitment, and loyalty.
4 for 4 today as he continues his stellar career. That is our player of the game. It is Brandon Aubrey, brought to you by Jack Black. Want to use with the pros? Use Jack Black as the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus here in the Miller Lite Club at AT&T Stadium following a 44-19 Cowboys win. Cowboys loss to the Saints. Damn it, I really was hoping maybe I could just speak it into
Maybe this
existence.
time next week we can have one of
Yeah,
those.
we'll say Cowboys win over the Ravens. That's the hope. We did get scorigami today, though, Brian.
We did get
You were
scorigami.
joking about this in the booth.
I was joking about it, yeah.
But it's the 1,086th unique final score in NFL history, 44-19 Saints over the Cowboys, as we got scorigami. Just wish the Cowboys were on the other side of that, unfortunately. All right, let's take our final call of the day, and then we'll get to a little scoreboard update for you. Go around the rest of the league. Let's go to Charlie in Arkansas. Charlie, thank you for your patience, man. What's going on?
Man, what's going on, guys? You guys have touched on a lot of this stuff, but I've enjoyed listening. I'm a first-time caller. Brian, I'm a huge fan of yours. I always listen to you when you're over there messing with Patrick and Derek. And what's the girl's name over there on the break? What's her name?
Amber, yeah.
Man, she knows her stuff too. But I will say this: I think a lot of I'm 32, by the way. I think you said you were 33 over there, my man. But I will say this: there is something when they go against these certain schemes that I don't know what it is, Brian. More so, yes, they got their butts kicked up front today.
Sure.
But there's these schemes, the thing that I love about them, and I think why this tree, I've been telling my dad, this tree is really starting to continue to branch out and more guys are becoming coordinators. They're going to take over the league or something, because I didn't even know who their OC was. But when I saw who their OC was and where he came from, I ain't going to lie, I looked at my pops today and I went, oh, boy. And I said that right before the game. Now, this is before I hadn't even heard what you guys have really said this week, but it's only because I feel like when they go against those schemes, for whatever reason, they just – even with Dan Quinn, obviously, today we know we had Zim, but it just – they look a step slow, as someone else said. But, I know they got physically whipped and all of that, but I know that the idea behind this scheme, right, is to keep the pass rush from being – a problem. You think about the Rams, how many times did they face a 3rd and 5 or more, Brian? I don't remember very many to where we could just say, you know what, go rush the passer, because that's what these schemes do, and they keep you in manageable down and distance when they're on. And
I'm sorry. I'm bad at interrupting people. You finish up. Go ahead. I was gonna ask you something.
Yeah, and you go ahead and do that too. I'm finna get off here because I'm gonna listen to you. But yeah, what's crazy is last week I watched Cleveland.
Sure.
And I was thinking about Deshaun, and they kept saying, Deshaun is better in the shotgun, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they're having a little bit of an issue with okay, we want to do some of the West Coast creative schemes, but he's better in the gun, which that takes that part of it away. And so I just worry, as we go along here, this has become a trend of, okay, and McCarthy, look, I like the guy. I think he's a good coach, but he's not a bad play caller by any means, but sometimes I wonder if we're not creative enough at times.
Can I hang with me here, brother, okay? Hang with me as I talk, all right? What is creative about run and toss sweep? What is creative? And I'm being serious. I'm not trying to pull your chain or anything like that. I think the motion stuff is unique. They're playing with a fullback. We don't see that anymore. Okay, that's unique. They're playing with motion. It's something we're seeing a lot more. Mm-hmm. It's a damn toss sweep.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing
pretty
magical.
Basic football there.
USC back in the John McKay days when he was coaching USC, John McKay would call plays in the 70s, and he had O.J. Simpson and Mike Garrett.
Yeah.
And you know what he would do? He'd click on the headset and go, repeat play, repeat play, repeat play, repeat play. It's a damn toss sweep.
Yeah.
It's nothing it's not creative. It's a crack. It's a get a guy around. It's guys getting on guys. That's what a toss sweep is.
Yeah, it's the execution of it that makes it work.
Yeah, there's these offense where it's creative is if you start to see some scheme where they move linebackers with motion to get windows to throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a damn toss sweep. That's what you got your ass kicked on today, a toss sweep. You know, that part of it you need to look at yourself and say, wow, that was really creative what they just did. No, they just tossed it to Kamara.
Yep.
And he was a MFer today running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got beat on today. It wasn't creativity. It was you got your ass kicked.
Yeah.
That's where this game came down to.
Yeah, I appreciate the call there, Charlie. Man, you're right there. I mean, like that.
Seriously,
that's basic football.
It's basic, yeah.
And if you're not going to get off blocks, then you're gonna get beat.
If you're going to get hooked, if you're going to get reached, if you're going to get pinned, if you do all those things, there's no creativity to that. That's just, hey, we're going to bring a guy in motion, and we're going to put more out there than you have to play defense.
The numbers game.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And sometimes I don't know that the Cowboys are using the numbers in their favor at times on offense when they're trying to get the ball outside to the receiver. And some of that is also the receivers not blocking well enough.
Right.
But there were times, New Orleans had the numbers in their favor, and they made it work, and it definitely hurt the Cowboys.
See, we didn't see, shovel pass, and you saw screens and stuff today.
Yeah.
You kind of saw basic football. A couple of bombs, some intermediate routes, toss sweep. Today was about you just not being good enough up front. That's what this was about today.
877-881-1053. Saints over the Cowboys 44-19. Couple other stunners in the National Football League today. How about the Packers getting a 16-10 win at home? No Jordan Love. It was Malik Willis throwing his first touchdown pass of his career. Josh Jacobs, 32 carries, 151 yards. They get their first win of the season. They send the Colts to 0-2. Aaron Rodgers, his first win as a Jet, 24-17. They go on the win. They beat the Tennessee Titans. Maybe the biggest stunner, the Vikings, 23-17. Sam Darnold. And the Minnesota Vikings at 2-0. They beat the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, no Christian McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason, 20 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Seattle goes on the road and beats New England 23-20 behind a 10-catch, 129-yard touchdown game from DK Metcalf. The Commanders get their first win in the Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels era, 21-18 over the New York Giants. Malik Neighbors, though, gets his first receiving touchdown of his career. Excuse me. Getting choked up here thinking about the Chargers. Chargers go on the road and they beat the Panthers. My goodness gracious. Not looking good for Carolina. 26-3, Chargers get the win. Cleveland improves to 1-1. The team that a lot of Cowboy fans are saying not very good. That was fool's gold. Maybe they're not good, but they won today, 18-13 on the road against Jacksonville. And how about the Raiders? They go on the road. They upset the Baltimore Ravens 26-23. That is who the Cowboys will be playing next week right here at AT&T Stadium. And currently, we just had a final 41-10. The Cardinals at home.
Wow.
Beating the LA Rams. Cooper Kupp got hurt today for the Rams. I feel like their entire offensive line is hurt. Puka Nakua's out at least a month. The Rams are battered and wounded, but a stellar performance from James Conner. Marvin Harrison Jr. a bounce-back game, 4 catches, 130 yards and a touchdown. And Kyler Murray, 3 touchdowns passing. Big win for Arizona.
What's the Kansas City score real quick?
Right now, Kansas City is up 23-22 on Cincinnati.
Missed extra point, I believe.
Man.
No? Maybe
McPherson did miss one.
I just something I thought was weird.
Yeah, 23-22. Maybe the interception of the year from Cam Taylor-Johnson, who was talking a lot of smack leading up to this one, but he's backing it up. Steelers up on the Broncos right now as well, 13-3, looking to go to 2-0 on the season. Bo Nix has 169 yards and an interception for Denver. Of course, tonight we got Bears and Texans. And how about the Bucs? Bucs go on the road. They improved to 2-0. They beat the Detroit Lions 20-16. Big game for Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, 11 catches and 119 yards. So, hey, Cowboys fall to 1-1. and now they'll welcome in a desperate team in the 0-2 Baltimore Ravens next week.
Yep, you're going to get their best shot for sure.
You will. Shout out to Chris Strong making his debut.
Hell of a job, man.
Running the Cowboys Radio Network. Great job, Chris. You did an awesome job. Kevin Walker back there as well, pulling highlights and helping us out with all that. Justin Honore managing and doing a great job with the setup there on the side with the Cowboys Radio Network. Of course, Tim Collins. Eric Chiafalo did an okay job today. I don't think he had as bad of a week as last week, holding it down. Ruben Portillo out here, as always, crushing it. And, of course, all of our guests, Brad, Bobby, Christy, all of our callers, really appreciate it. Unfortunately, this one didn't go the Cowboys' way. We'll be back next week. Until then, hugs and ham pounds, everybody. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey Cowboys fans, the Bahamas is calling. Start planning your ultimate getaway today at Bahamas.com/Cowboys. From Nassau's vibrant culture to Exuma's serene shores and the adventure of the Out Islands,